stop by for the Nintenbyte. You got the Triforce and it feels right. Like Bowser, you can listen all night, singing peaches until the sunlight. Summer shoots her beam so bright. Master Hand always brings a fight. Catch 'em all and use that fire blast. Put the soul back to visit your past. Welcome to the Nintenbyte Podcast.
-freetrial.com.
The heck is that?
Whoa. Who's watching ads right now? -freetrial.com.
Nintenbyte.-freetrial.com.
You get a free trial of the Nintenbyte Podcast, which is already free, and all of your podcast providers. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Nintenbyte Podcast, episode 6. And look, we got a lot of stuff to talk about because the leaks just keep coming. Which, I mean, look, we're in June. Okay, we're supposed to have a Nintendo Direct. Like, Nintendo's already announced it.
Next week.
That we're having one, anyways. So we're going to get into some of that stuff today, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, because we have topic roulette, but then there's only 4 topics. So I know what the topics are going to be because I didn't really give us any other options because I've had a crazy week for anyone who's paid attention. But doesn't matter. Let's go around the room, introduce who we are. I'll go first. I'm Nintendo Prime. What's up? I host the show. You guys know. Let's go over to Thunder Steve 85.
Yes, Thunder Steve 85 Gaming. You guys can find me on YouTube.
That's right. Of course you can. You like those retro reviews?
I do.
I love them. And, oh, you know what? I love it. You got a Coke Zero. I got a Coke Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. It also got ice water on top. See, look at that. See, I don't know what was that muscle milk in there, buddy? Little muscle milk? You bulking? Doing a mini bulk?
It's not muscle milk. It's just a water and protein powder.
It's a similar thing.
Pretty close.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a protein shake thing, basically.
It tastes fine.
Yeah, I know. I do those. I have shake stuff coming tomorrow, actually, because I'm doing a cleanse all the way up to the cruise beginning tomorrow. Lots of protein shakes and meal replacement shakes. So it's gonna be rough, man. But I'm gonna feel great when I get on that cruise ship and I don't worry about my weight. It's gonna be nice.
Show the abs.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna have the killer abs. No,
You're gonna have. As most men have one single giant strong ab.
One ab, yeah.
Also known as the keg.
Yep.
Eric, how's it going, buddy?
Good.
That's awesome. Andres Restart, or as someone try, I guess, we had a female who's supposed to be on today at Saffron City TV, but she's not gonna be on for a while. She's got a lot of stuff going on. But it's funny because I was told we already have a female on. It's Andrea. So I don't know.
It's funny. Spherometric shout outs in the chat. I saw the thing on Twitter. What was funny about it is I was going to actually reply to your tweet. I was like, oh, I could just get a sex change if you want. And then I see Spherometric posted a picture of me as a girl. I'm like, oh,
yep.
All right.
That was great. When he posted that,
I was like, she looks kind of good too.
For a second, I'm like, wait a second, that guy kind of looks familiar. you look kind of good as a chick. It was. Hey,
I have a daughter.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a preview.
Yeah.
And Mike Odyssey.
That's
it. Wow, that's the shortest intro ever, right? For Mike.
Got my mug here and never give up your neon coffee.
Nice. That's a cool design you got.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I like how I didn't actually introduce myself. We just joked about me.
Well, it's funny too, because at the end of the show, I'm always like, "Yeah, you want to tell them where they can find you, dude? You already know." And that's like how it is.
It's funny because they were like, "No, any girl podcasters like, oh yeah, you can put a wig on Andre."
Better watch out. See, I'm heading to Florida a little bit later this month. I might have to stop by and drop one off in person for him.
Drop off a wig?
Yeah, just for fun. You don't have to put it on. Don't put it on in
right.
front of me, though, please. That's for your own.
I'll put it on my butt to see how that looks.
All right. Well, I'm not going to be in the room when that happens.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get into our topic roulette. Who hasn't gone first? Is there anyone who hasn't gone first yet?
No, I think we all have.
There is someone who hasn't gone first yet that is a regular on your show.
Mike, have you not?
Oh!
Yeah, you were going to be first last week, or no, last 2 weeks ago, till you told me what you wanted your topic to be. Funny thing is, Thunder Steve 85 did the same thing to me today. And I'm like,
Yeah.
guys, stop telling me the topics you want to pick ahead of time. That's not the point. Anyways, all right, Andres, you have not gone first. You go ahead and you pick the first topic.
I want to be considerate to Eric, right? So I'm gonna leave out a topic that he can probably thrive with. See, I'm a good guy.
Depends on the
Or
topic.
am I? What's our favorite E3 summer show? No,
I don't remember anything.
no. I'll just tell you my memory when that comes.
Can you tell us the first time he's looked at the list?
I'll do the direct leak one because I feel like I can bring something interesting to that I don't think anyone else talked about, but maybe someone talked about it.
Yeah, I've listened to some of your stuff on it. I didn't put like everything in there. I was really hoping either you or me would take that topic.
Yeah,
there's like a lot of stuff.
I've seen conversation about. I've just seen conversation on these leaks that there isn't much to say. I kind of like strong disagree, and the people that say that, I wonder if they saw my videos because I feel like. I mean, I don't know. I personally felt good about what I had to bring to the table for those. So that I would like to go into it. Yeah. The specifics, I'm mostly referring to the Zelda one, but there's others.
Sure. Yeah. It's good. Yeah. There's a lot to get into. Plus, there's like some possible dates now that have been put out there. A single date, actually, and from a reliable person that someone new.
Wait. We got a date from a reliable person?
Supposedly. I don't know the history of this person, but the Gaming Leaks and Rumors Reddit provided a history that suggests that we should be listening to them. And because it's someone, again, from another language, Spanish, who has a history of getting things right over the last year. So I'm just going to leave it at that because I was going to end up being a video for me today, but I was really
Let
busy.
me get this out of the way now because Having Hope in the chat is asking for a Ruby appearance. Ruby. Hey, baby. Hey, say hello.
What do you want? Leave me alone.
All right. Let's see. How about Eric? How about you go second?
I'll do the favorite E3 summer show memory.
All right. Not bad. Thunder Steve.
Think I'll have to go with then the top 5 Zelda games of all time.
Of all time. Ooh, that's gonna be an interesting list for us to come up with. Each one of us individually, I don't think we'll ever agree at all. It's
cool.
Too individual.
I got 4 that I've played.
That's awesome. Your top 5 is gonna be real great. You can throw in some you've watched. Play.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our top 5s being different would be a good thing.
That would be a very good thing.
I think sometimes we get so caught up in everyone having
Mike's in the same
opinion.
boat as you. See, Mike will have his own opinion too because he's only played 4.
So I've only played 4, and I basically started them all at a certain point, and then stopped at a certain point. But yeah,
that's okay.
No, maybe I have
all the intros.
I can tell you all the intros. It's great. It's gonna be an interesting conversation. And then I guess that means I will take the Nintendo Switch 2 rumor / leak update
you get
question
to switch to again. Imagine that.
Oh wow, I got it's like this is a history. Only once has it not been the last topic. And you know what's crazy? Our first topic is supposed to be led by the very person who just hit his camera. So that's fun.
Andre turned into letter A.
Yeah, he did. I don't know what he's doing. That's okay.
Hey.
There he is. He's back. Like, it kind of sucks when you step away when you're supposed to lead the very, very first topic.
I just realized I had left like my room light on.
I knew it was off a smidge, but it was whatever.
It was like it wasn't that bad, but I was like, I just realized it was on, so I fixed it. So here we are.
All right. Well, what's our first topic, bud?
I don't remember. Let's see here. Nintendo Direct leaks. So I don't know about that date thing you brought up, so you're gonna have to bring that up. But
it's in the notes.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I actually have the most notes for that one in case someone grabbed it that didn't know anything.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I actually have a lot of notes for the direct. It doesn't quite have everything, but it's got enough that anyone could have led that topic.
Okay.
So all right, okay, I see this now.
Yeah,
all
there's
right,
a link to the source too.
All right, I'll get to that part, right? I'll that's probably the part that people care about the most. So as a YouTuber, I'll save it for last. So yeah. Anyways,
YouTuber.
I mean, I would argue that it's about the journey, not the destination. Anyway,
hey.
I think it's been a really interesting last couple weeks in the terms of like the rumor leak scenario. And I think what's interesting about a lot of the leaks, most of them are coming from Midori. Midori is considered, I would argue, is literally the best leaker of all time, and it's not even close. Like some people would like to put Pioro above Midori because of their accuracy regarding Nintendo. However, here's the thing. Pioro, while there is like a 98.9% like reliability rating or something like that, right? If we were to literally pull everything they said, and when they've been wrong, it's little things.
It's like an interpretation.
Right, exactly, right.
Yeah.
It's not that they have false.
It was not like a
right?
blatant,
right?
Just lied. Yeah,
yeah. But the thing about Pioro is that Pioro only talks about things when they're imminent. So what that means is like literally about to happen, right? Midori, on the other hand, not only goes beyond Nintendo. First off, right? Midori talks about Sega, Atlas, Square Enix, and now Nintendo, but they're talking about things we don't know how far in advance, things that are imminent, things that aren't imminent. So they have a much wider breadth while still maintaining that level of reliability. So to me, when we shouldn't be ranking them, but I'm just kind of talking about it on this way because I would put Midori on an even greater level than Pioro in terms of leaker, right? And like you can go on their Twitter feed and you will see things that they are getting right recently. Like the one thing that comes to mind to me, they talked about how there's going to be a Bleach game coming to Switch. A few days later, confirmed, right? Like, so like you can see the trail. It's there for you to go and take a look for yourself, right? So it's not like, oh, they say so many things and we're still waiting. Oh, these things are happening.
Yeah, she said a lot of things, but every week, one or two of those things gets announced. It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, and so it's been like this for a while, right? Anyways, so all of a sudden over the last few weeks, Midori has started talking about a bevy of Nintendo codename projects. Now, there's room for interpretation for what these projects are for. I think a lot of people seem to be in agreement for what these different codename products are for, right? Like, for example, there's a legacy project that's being made by Monolith Soft. That's a Nintendo studio, the studio behind Xenoblade, and is also doing support for Zelda, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon. Most people seem to be in agreement that's definitely coming to Switch too, right? But technically, we don't know that for a fact, right? That's just kind of something we assume. But then we also have another leak. This is one of the first ones from Midori that's for Banquet that's being made by ND Cube and also like a smaller support studio that basically this combination of studios makes the Mario Party games, right? And Banquet is related to Super Mario Party because Super Mario Party had the code name for Buffet. And so most people seem to be of the mind that that's a Mario Party game coming out this year because it kind of matches the pattern. And that seems like something that's safer to predict for this year for Switch 1 before we move on to Switch 2 next year. But there's room for interpretation there is the point, right? So like you can call it an Nintendo Direct leak, but we're not 100% sure it's an Nintendo Direct leak. It's just a game leak. Most of us think it's probably Mario Party. And there's a pretty good chance it's going to be in the Direct, but maybe it's a next year thing. We're not 100% certain. There is, however, a game that has been leaked specifically for the Nintendo Direct, and that is Dragon Quest 1 through 3 Remake. The entire Erdrick storyline, apparently, that's coming, and it's going to be in the Nintendo Direct. Now, technically, we knew about this a few years ago. It was announced, but it was just the third one, and now it's been delayed and it's been reworked, and now they're remaking all first three. So that's pretty cool, and apparently we're going to see in the Direct. So that's supposedly a big leak. And by the way, that's the Team Asano game, right? So finally a prediction. I don't know if you guys had the same prediction, but I was predicting Team Asano would have a game this year. If that leak proves to be true, then there we got that. But beyond that, there's a lot of other stuff that's debatable, right? Like there's some of this ties into the Switch 2 stuff, right? Like we have the Mario codename leak. We have the Silver Star thing, which I've theorized is Donkey Kong, but that's a whole other conversation. Mm-hmm. Then there's just so many. There is the Spiral codename, which is apparently for the next entry is Splatoon, which is another one of those things where most of us will assume it's for Switch 2, but technically we don't know, right? And then there is this other one that is a codename Anna. Codename Anna.
Yeah.
And so that is seemingly for a follow-up to Switch Sports, because Switch Sports was Elsa, Anna from Frozen. That seems to be the connection there. And also that's something that I think most people would agree is likely a Switch 2 thing. But again, we're not 100% certain there. Now, something that I think is probably a Switch 1 project, but again, we don't know for certain, is arguably one of the most hype code names that we've seen come up from these Midori leaks. And it's one relating to
Zelda.
Yes. And the code name is Edward, if I'm not mistaken. And so what's interesting about this, right? And maybe it's not something that everyone is aware of, right? When we go into all the code names for the different Zelda games, they all pertain to royalty. Now, a lot of the bigger 3D Zelda games have to do with like playing card royalty, like Jack, Queen, King, things like that, Joker. And like the Breath of the Wild line is King, right? But when it comes to the 2D Zelda games, they actually use names in royalty. Now, some people have looked like for random side characters in these games and like, oh, that's why that's a code name, because there is like a random side character in Link's Awakening that's Richard, and that is the code name for Link's Awakening. I personally think it just has more to do with royalty, and something that people may not be aware of, right, is that Edward and Richard are actually brothers. There's a story of the two princes in the tower, Edward and Richard, and well, they died. They were murdered because after their father, supposedly, we don't know why they died. They disappeared, right? It's a mystery, right? This is a factual event, and their uncle became king. Most people presume it's like, some sort of like political sort of thing that occurred there. But the point is, there is a story about two brothers in royalty, Edward and Richard. These are common names in royalty. There's also another one. There's Alice. Is it Alice or Anna? I'm confusing them because I think Anna is Elsa and Anna are from Frozen, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but there is Triforce Heroes had the code name for Alice, and that's another common name in royalty. So the point is that the implication of this code name is that not only is it a Zelda game because it's based off royalty, but because they're using a name from royalty as opposed to like a playing card, that goes with the pattern of it being some type of 2D Zelda entry. Not necessarily a remake, because we've seen things like Triforce Heroes, but it could be. What's also interesting, though, when you go back to Midori's tweet, he not only refers to the code name, but he alludes how this could be connected to recent Zelda rumors. But what Zelda rumors would he be referring to? Well, where things get a little deeper here, he's not talking about his own rumor or a leak of the King Breath of the Wild remaster thing. The only other Zelda rumor that's out there that's kind of relevant is what stemmed from Papa Genos' post on Twitter, where most people interpreted it to be a hint because literally he took the time to capitalize only specific letters in this paragraph, where he was talking about how he would like Zelda to be playable in a game soon, now being the time, and the letters that he capitalized spell out the sentence, "This is a hint." And then later on in a podcast, he basically verified that that is indeed what he was getting at, but it wasn't related to the Breath of the Wild thing. This would be its own thing. However, he then did his own Nintendo Direct predictions, and in the predictions video, he just referred to it as speculation based off research and rumors, and a lot of people were kind of put off by this. Nate, I haven't gotten a chance to see like what your thoughts on this, right? But my perspective on what Papa Genos did is just because I've sometimes been told things. You sometimes have been told things, right? And it's just kind of like sometimes I'm just very careful about the wording because I can't say everything, and that's why I think it came out weird. But we don't know for certain. But the fact that Midori seems to kind of think there's something to the Zelda rumors, and we have this code name, and I just think it makes sense for there to be something to Zelda this year, given the circumstances of the ending of the generation, and we need something new from Nintendo.
That'll be awesome.
I think we're getting 2D Zelda this year.
Hopefully, it's another remake like Link's Awakening, but with another Oracle Season of Ages, or Link to the Past, something like that.
There's also a possibility that Midori, and we don't know if this is direct related, but she also said directly responding to someone that I have no idea why Nintendo hasn't released Twilight Princess yet.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation.
Maybe that she even knows too that like that's dumb, but just like Jeff Grubb and everyone else, no one knows why the hell these games haven't come.
Yeah, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, like from all that's another insider that's been like, yep, the way it was referred to, it's as if they knew it existed, but they just don't know why.
Nobody knows why Nintendo hasn't brought them out. Yeah,
Emily Rogers when she was a leaker before spoke about those games that were
she might have been the first. I don't know.
Once upon a time,
yeah,
long time ago.
Back in the day.
She spoke about Metroid Prime. That one came to pass, and she said they were sitting on the other games. They were sitting on it for a year.
Her final leak was that they would end the Switch generation with a ton of GameCube ports and remasters.
Wow,
it's exactly what has been happening,
crazy.
Like to a T. Like so.
I'll just say that was kind of fairly predictable though, based off how they handled 3DS. But
speaking of 3DS,
I'm not saying I think Emily Rogers is legit. I'm just saying that you know.
That's all. To me, it's one of those things that a lot of these GameCube games, just haven't been touched at all in so long. So it made some sense, but also I would say that some of the ones they chose were surprising because they could. Yeah,
I suppose they could have done.
Ones.
They didn't have to go to GameCube, but GameCube just makes.
They literally could have just did more 3DS games.
Yeah, they are doing 3DS games.
Yeah, but just not as many. Not quite as many.
I think that Paper Mario game is actually Island Tour from 3DS.
What?
That Paper Mario game that you guys are talking about in the leak, whatever? That you think it's a Paper Mario game that's coming?
What are you talking about?
So you mentioned in the round of the leaks that you mentioned, there were you mentioned.
You mean the Mario Party?
Mario Party.
Paper Mario Party, yeah, that one.
Okay.
Did I say Paper Mario?
Yeah.
I've made that mistake before.
Yeah, I was playing it before. Yeah, so that's why I say it. But Mario Party Island Tour, because there was the updated trademark for that one registered on April 23rd, 2024 for Mario Party Island Tour. That's for 3DS, so that could be like a port.
Who knows?
Yeah, I saw your video on that.
Yeah.
Could be.
Absolutely. And like a thing to remember too is like, and this is Switch related and could theoretically be direct related because even though they said, primarily focused on games, in the second half of 2024, we always know primarily, okay, there could be one or two that's not for this year. Mm-hmm. And Switch is assuredly going to still, I know people are like, oh, why would, if Switch 2's out in March, why would there still be games on Switch? They're not going to just not release games on a system that has the biggest install base. They're just going to, their biggest, big brand new games are going to be for the new thing to push sales. But like PH Brazil was out there. He's one of the lead guys on the whole, hey, it's coming in March, is put out there that, hey, he knows about a 3DS and a GameCube remaster that's coming out after April of 2025. Potentially those games could be teased here as well. And those could be like anything because what have they been doing? 3DS and GameCube games. So like,
yeah.
It's those of you that want Kirby Planet Robobot, it is possible.
Yeah.
You ready?
I'll say with the Brazil thing, I just kind of think like, okay, like of course we're gonna get more remasters later on, but Yeah,
right, he seemed to hint that he knows what it is, but I think he's curious if Nintendo's gonna announce it this month or not.
Man, I just saw today a video. I think you probably saw it before. Of a person who made the Zelda 1 remake top down. It looks incredible. I mean, I'm not sure. They probably using maybe the models from Link's Awakening a little bit for the land and everything. But Zelda 1 remade top down looks crazy. So,
is that a NES hack, by the way?
It's an NES. No,
like is that?
It's a guy who has.
It's like is it like a PC remake that some fan did?
I think it's a PC remake. Yeah, one of those PC remakes. He made Zelda 1. It was out but within the last 2 weeks. I can share the link with you.
Is it taken down yet?
No, not yet.
Ooh.
Not yet.
Ooh.
You know what? Let me go ahead and get that link to you.
Yeah.
It will be taken down after it shows on this show. No.
It'll be taken off quick. So I try to get those downloaded immediately.
That's why he's like, hold on. Like, give me it before it's gone.
I'll put that with my Link's Awakening one that came out a few months ago.
Yeah.
What was there something else you were going to say, Steve? Because I know I cut you off earlier.
Oh yeah, I was going to say thank you. Earlier today, so I was just kind of refreshing on some old E3 memories, and I know we'll talk about that in a moment. But I was looking at E3 2004. It's so funny, man. Paper Mario, 1,000 Year Door, 20 years ago. It was at E3 2004. Metroid Prime 2, E3 2004. And don't we all suspect that we're getting Metroid Prime 2 this year? Most likely.
Yeah.
There were just so many games that were at E3 20 years ago.
Still alive.
And I'm seeing the sizzle reel. I'm like, these are games that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. This is so funny. Here we are 20 years later. And I got to imagine that's why, when we're talking about pulling from GameCube, it's like these games are 20 years old. They got to introduce them to a new generation.
I just feel like GameCube is so much better than Wii in terms of the games.
Controls too.
Maybe there's some, I don't know if you call it recency bias or a generation bias or what have you, but I don't know. Like my perspective is that we are talking more about like a lot of these classic GameCube games than we are about Wii games. Like, I'm not saying there aren't Wii games. I'm like, man, that was really good. There's a lot, but I feel like for GameCube, there's just so many, and the variety is stronger. And maybe that's kind of part of what it is. It almost feels like after the GameCube, Nintendo went a certain way and didn't experiment as much, if that makes any sense. Now, it may sound odd because you could argue that from a hardware perspective, Nintendo was very experimental.
Yeah.
And they introduced a lot of new series like the sports series and things like that. But we stopped getting. When was the last time we got a brand new Star Fox? The GameCube, right? Not counting Command, but that was on DS. The last time we got a brand new console, F-Zero, the GameCube, right? There are things like Custom Robo, like that we haven't gone like. A lot of these smaller franchises had a lot more of a presence on the GameCube, and I don't know. It kind of seems like Nintendo's moved away from some of their smaller IP. I'm not saying they don't do them. It just kind of seems like they don't do them as often.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting too is True Dude just dropped a $5 super chat, and he said, Luigi's Mansion 1 for GameCube Shadow Drop.
That's my prediction.
I can't even rule that out. Like, yeah, they could do it.
I
even though
believe
they're building up this hype to 2.
Why
it would
though?
be crazy if they just shadow drop that, this
Why
month.
did they release Pikmin 1 and 2 before Pikmin 4?
Yeah, and they're just not packaging these together, right? Or maybe, possibly the shadow drop is that it is packed in with Luigi's Mansion 2, and they just didn't talk about it yet.
Oh, that'd be wild, but I doubt that.
What if the shadow drop is GameCube putting Nintendo Switch Online, and then they add Luigi's Mansion 1 to GameCube at that point?
I just don't think that.
I mean, I wonder. Is it going to be with Switch 2, though, is what I wonder as well.
I don't. The thing is,
this is my argument for that, for like the Switch 2 thing. I think that NSO is a separate thing from Switch, right? I think it's a service, an online service, like download an app and the Switch. So when I say they add GameCube, I'm not seeing as okay. Maybe they might leave it for the Switch. Maybe that's a selling point. But if they add it to NSO, people on Switch will also have GameCube access, just like in Switch 2, because it's like a separate service. It's their streaming service and their console service. So like their retro library and then their Nintendo Switch games and releases that they have on their Switch. That's how I've always been. I've always seen it. So that's why my prediction said, "Oh yeah, well, we might get GameCube," is because I've never seen it. Like, oh wait, the Switch has limited power to have this on there. I don't think it does. It's a GameCube game.
Oh no, they could totally run the game.
Yeah.
Like that's not an issue. I mean, there's a little bit of an issue of like controls because the Switch doesn't have analog triggers, but there's enough extra buttons on the Switch controller that they can come up with, like they can have a customization set up to kind of make up for it. It's Mario Sunshine in 3D All Stars. That's a GameCube game running on Switch controls, and it does work. You just have to, play around with the shoulder buttons a little differently. So it's manageable. I just feel like Nintendo is going to not do it for money reasons. Like they can get these GameCube remasters for a few years, but I do think it's GameCube's going to happen just maybe like years from now. And at that point, Switch 1 will be irrelevant.
Yeah. Well,
we'll see what happens. Like,
yeah.
The thing is, there's so much stuff going around for the possibilities for the Direct. And I do think, the chances of all the things that we think will be in the Direct being there is always pretty slim. We always have these predictions, and though they don't all make it, some don't. There'll be a lot of indies and third-party games we're not even bringing up.
But there are probably some crazy predictions that no one will believe, and those are going to be the ones that come true. And the ones that we think make the most sense don't come true.
Watch this Tamagotchi Life, and we have Kirby Planet Robobots now. These are like the big ones coming the second half of this year. I mean, here's the thing. I think a lot of us go, well, look, if this is the last dedicated Switch Direct, not the last time Switch games show up in a Direct, but the last one that's only Switch games, potentially. Some people think there might be teases for games that could end up being on Switch 2 and Switch, but if
Prime
it's
4
the last
confirmed cross-gen.
Yes,
I don't think they'll confirm. If Prime 4 shows in the Direct, I don't think
they'll confirm cross-gen right now. That would be something confirmed when they reveal.
I think they'll subtly confirm it by telling us the release time.
Yeah, but
we'll see.
Furukawa did confirm there was a next gen system, so they could say available on Nintendo Switch and on next gen system.
They could.
Yeah.
Or they could just have the Switch logo since it was already announced for Switch and just leave it at that.
Yeah, they don't have to say anything.
Or they could just have no logos and then everyone starts speculating anyways.
Oh, that's a good way to do it.
Or maybe it's not even there.
It might not be.
I don't need a logo. All I need to see is a release date. Like, do they say if it's coming out this year? Then the answer is no. If they say 2025, then to me the answer is an obvious yes.
Well, we'll see. Because again, we also don't technically know when Switch 2 is coming. Switch 2 could be holiday next year.
That's totally true, but I doubt that.
I doubt it too. But remember, I also doubted that it wasn't coming out this year at one point. So absolutely could be holiday. Could be 2026. Which
Nothing
I don't
is
think.
confirmed.
Don't think 2026.
Listen, even sometimes when Nintendo tells us things, that doesn't mean it's like 100%. It's.
I'm just gonna go with this.
I agree.
Furukawa has not lied to me yet.
Yeah,
that's the key word. Is yet.
Yeah.
He's been president. I mean, he's been president long enough to lie, but he hasn't. In fact, he also gets into rumor denying, which no other previous president did. So I kind of think that like he might be more of a stand-up bloke when it comes to this stuff, but we'll see.
You know what I always think about is Reggie when he was directly asked if they have anything new coming, and he said no. And
I don't believe Jack. I don't believe anything out of Doug Bowser's mouth. He was directly trained by Reggie.
Yeah, what was it? The next day? The next day he unveiled the 3DS.
Yeah, it was literally like the next day or a few days later. It was insane.
Yeah.
We have no plans for a new model of 3DS. A few days later, new Nintendo 3DS on us. What the?
Yeah.
What are you doing, man? You just told us it's not happening. You
Ever
could have
since then.
Like, I don't know what else he was supposed to say, knowing that they were going to reveal it in a few days. Like, what are you supposed to just say it? Okay, just reveal it now. I'm not going to fire you for it, but I don't even know what are you supposed to say.
So Furukawa did the same thing to the shareholders during the meeting. He's like, nothing for now. Right on Twitter drop. Switch is coming this year.
Well, what he was trying to tell people is stop overvaluing the company over rumors, because the rumors were this thing is coming in March and blah, blah, and that's not what's happening. Mm-hmm. And he knew that. So he's like telling people stop. Like, the only thing you need to pay attention to is what we say on these specific places. And they're saying, a Nintendo Switch successor is coming. If you want to use that to hype up things in 2025, that would make sense because Nintendo's now giving you a reason. And they said there's going to be some sort of announcement or news this fiscal year. When that news drops, you want to build up, you want to raise our prices, then that's fine. But he was saying like, dude, people are inflating over all these rumors and all these rumors thinking it's coming now, and that's not happening. So don't listen to them. So he wasn't wrong. He didn't lie.
Yeah.
There's something I want to dive into because of that thing you mentioned about the date, but I got to get into this part first.
Sure.
This is what's going on with Star Fox Assault right now, because I've noticed a conversation in the chat. I saw a conversation on Twitter. It's
because of Zippo.
Okay. I did see that Kid and Krista did something on Star Fox Assault as well.
Yeah.
Now, I know that it wasn't a leak. It's just their own video. And I think it's a slippery slope because everyone likes to think, first off, Kid and Krista, they're amazing. If you're watching this, I think you're amazing. But a lot of people, whenever they talk about something, they put out their own thoughts. It is informed. I think they offer really good predictions. But I think a lot of people like to assume that because they used to work at Nintendo, that whenever they say something, it's a leak. And just because they're like, hey, Star Fox Assault would be cool, they should really remaster this. That doesn't mean Star Fox Assault is 100% getting remastered.
Here's my thing with Kit and Krista. They 100% have friends still that work at Nintendo. Absolutely. They could be told things. I don't think they are. And here's why. they have so much respect for their former employer and their former job. They wouldn't even ask, and the employees they know wouldn't even tell them. So everything they're doing is 100% speculation. It can be maybe informed speculation on things they heard while they worked there, but at this point, that's so many years ago, it's probably not that relevant today. So in the end, I think they have a really good idea of the inner workings of Nintendo. You got to remember, a lot of those inner workings their experience are under the Iwata years. So I think that and Reggie, they worked most of their time was under Reggie. So I think we just got to sit back and go, I think they're good, but they're not speaking as an authority. We need to stop taking it as an authority, and they're trying to leak things. Because one, they're not even acting like they're leaking things. Let's just be very clear about that. And because they actually worked at Nintendo and they seem to have a lot of respect, I don't think that they actually know anything that's coming. I don't think they've been told, and I don't think they know. And if they were accidentally told by some friend that they went to dinner with, I doubt they would even bring it up.
Yeah. Now, that all said, I think Star Fox Assault makes tons of sense. I would love to see Star Fox Assault. Right?
It'd be better than another. Bring Star Fox 64 back. Okay, can we get a different one, maybe, please?
But
That'd be
no,
great.
like I think Star Fox Assault, is so underrated. It's maybe the second. It's a top 3 Star Fox game. Top 3, like it's Star Fox 64, Star Fox Adventures, and Star Fox Assault. Take your pick. But those are the 3 best Star Fox games.
Adventures on Wii U.
Star Fox 2 is pretty good.
No.
Have you played Star Fox 2 on
Star Fox Adventures? Yeah, I did play it. It's cool, but it's not a full game. It's not. I mean, there's a reason it didn't really. Anyway, like
I'll leave it alone.
Game?
For the time period that it was meant to come out, and it would have been considered a full game.
Okay. It's a cool thing. I think it's really cool. Maybe you put that in the top 5.
The time. It was because of the timing of the release in N64. They never really.
Yeah.
Dinosaur Planet.
Dinosaur Planet was.
Is that what you're talking about?
Star Fox Adventures came up for the Nintendo.
Star Fox 2 is
Star Fox,
but it was not supposed to be a Star Fox game originally. It was Thundersteed's reference.
I know,
literally,
but it's still a really good game.
It is a good game.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But anyway, like I think Star Fox Assault would be an amazing game to remaster. We do technically know that Bandai Namco is working on some, or at least at one point, we don't know if they followed through with it, but there were hirings for a remaster, remake, slash, because we're not, that's a gray area, right? But some kind of reworking of that Nintendo has hired them to do, and it's an action game. And so if you just break it down as an action game, there aren't that many games from Nintendo that they wouldn't be doing they themselves that would fall under action. Kid Icarus and Star Fox do, but Sakurai has been teasing Kid Icarus, but it kind of seems more like he's maybe campaigning for it to happen, right? And I think that is going to materialize into a Kid Icarus Uprising remaster at some point or another. But what I think it tells us is that maybe that Bandai Namco project is not Kid Icarus. And so maybe it's actually Star Fox Assault.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and if they did it, Star Fox Assault has like a kind of quality cell shaded visuals. Like it's one of those games that they could easily make look really good on Switch. If they were to, spruce it up, maybe do some quality of life updates to kind of smooth out the gameplay, to kind of address some of the criticisms the game had, and then maybe bolster the online features a little bit more, give us the multiplayer features, and then give us online with that. Star Fox Assault could be a really nice teaser for a modern Star Fox game on Switch a couple years from now.
Yeah, good.
We got to get into the date though.
Yeah, the date thing.
Yeah,
because that's like really recent.
Right. Yeah. So basically, what you've written here at Mr. Dryas.
It's Datre 81.
No. Oh, okay. I skipped that part because my brain. I was talking about the rumor.
Yeah, you're talking about the actual.
But I guess I'll do the change
because Datre did his thing before.
Yeah. All right. So I'll talk about that part first. I skipped it. So Dr. 81 noticed something pretty cool earlier this week. Basically, last year Nintendo announced their Summer Play event on June 14th. And then a week later, 7 days, on June 21st, we had the Nintendo Direct. And there's another little part that I didn't pay too much attention to because it was Walmart of Canada, but apparently there's a history of Walmart of Canada kind of like following up, tweeting on this and kind of maybe hinting at something. I don't know if they know anything, but people are mentioning it, so I'm mentioning it here to do my due diligence. they were part of that, and they're part of this time as well, where Nintendo has announced their Summer Play event. They did it 2 days ago, and so that's leading people to speculate that maybe there's a pattern here, and it's going to happen next week. And Walmart of Canada did something to the effect of like they're zooming in on like the imagery to see if there's any hints towards what could be in something. But that's the basic story there. I've predicted June 12th for a while. I think it makes a lot of sense because right after Summer Games Fest, it's on a Wednesday, which when there's not E3, Nintendo does tend to do most of their directs on Wednesdays. There are exceptions though. We in 2021 we had a partner on a Tuesday, but the Xenoblade Direct beforehand was on a Wednesday. So it's take your pick, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. They're all possible. So I definitely think it makes a lot of sense. But also they could wait another week just because Nintendo likes to make us suffer sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
a week before Luigi's Mansion,
maybe. Although I would argue that if you want to shadow drop a game, whatever it is, be it Luigi's Mansion 1 or something else, perhaps 2 weeks prior makes more sense. And if it is Luigi's Mansion 1, 2 weeks makes more sense, at least from the perspective of how they handled Pikmin 4, because 1 and 2 came out, I want to say 2 weeks before Pikmin 4 released. And those are Pikmin games. Give us 2 weeks to play the older Pikmin games that were shadow dropped before we play the new release.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about Luigi's Mansion 1 being a game.
Shadow dropped.
Sure, yeah. I mean it's just
people want it. Yeah. People want it to happen. Yeah. But there's more to this next week thing, and this is what gets really fascinating. And I'll share the part for you. You can just go over it though. Because it popped up over here on the gaming leaks and rumors.
This is the potential date leak or something, right?
Yes,
I'll read it. A humble insider known in the Spanish community called Mr. Dry has talked about the date of Nintendo Direct on Twitter, dropping that it'll be next June 11. This man has already got several things right that had not seen it anywhere before, and maybe right here. He says he has good context in the industry and has been seen in the past with issues related to Silent Hill and recently with Metal Gear and Resident Evil, where in their podcast they provide a lot of information about the future of the franchise. That's interesting. I feel like we've been down this road before, though, where
absolutely
someone that we've never heard of before comes out of the woodworks, right? And apparently they have a great track record, but we, having not been a part of that community, I'm not saying they don't. We just don't know.
Yeah,
right. We're not part of the Spanish Nintendo leak community, so we don't know that history, and so we kind of just take their word for it or not. And so maybe they are credible, maybe they're not.
Well, rumors are always meant to be skepticism, and so something that none of us can verify. It's just he's either right or not, and we'll know soon. Like it's not like it's something, it's not even something that he hinted it might be that day, but it could be a different day that week. I looked at the tweets. He directly said it's happening. Some people asked if he got the information from a certain thing, and he said, no, I have a real source on this. So I guess we'll find out. Now, the 11th is a widely projected date for Nintendo, and a lot of it is based on E3 history. They would always go on Tuesday after everybody else.
The last Tuesday was 2021.
Yes. So it's not like they can't do it on a Tuesday. They absolutely could. It's not like an impossibility. We have no idea. Nintendo's kind of since E3 went kaput, they've been all over the place. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It could be whatever. I personally want it to be next week because if it's the week after, it could run in, especially if it's on a Thursday, it could run into problems for me. But I really want it to be next week. So I want this guy to be right. Here's the thing, though. This is always a nice reminder that because you guys know I cover a lot of rumors and leaks on my channel, right? And for the most part, I've been covering just reliable, like people we already know to be reliable most of this year. And
people are still mad.
People always get mad. Actually, people are getting less mad with the way I've been doing it recently, but we'll see if that continues. They'll get annoyed eventually. But I haven't made a video on this one yet. I may or may not do a video on it unless I find something else more interesting. Or if people we know to be reliable just come straight out and say no. Because one person I paid attention to, and I usually don't, is RGT85. because he was talking about, he did a video on the Doc Tray video, and he said that, he talked to people, and we know that he knows Nate the Hate. So I don't know if that's one of the people he talked to. He didn't just, I figured RGT's a pretty straight shooter. He'd probably just come straight out and said, I talked to Nate. He said no. But he said whoever he talked to said, no, it's not next week. I don't know who he talked to, though. And RGT85 has literally zero history of ever leaking anything ever. So, but we all know that he literally does a podcast with Nate the Hate every other Wednesday.
Yeah.
So,
but he's also used that reasoning to say certain leaks are false, and then he's wrong.
Yeah.
Several times.
I was just throwing out there that there is other people that are like trying to cast doubt on it.
I will say though, Nate the Hate actually has been kind of like upset because people are talking about directs as he usually is. He doesn't like people talking about things until right before it's going to happen, and so he's been sort of suggesting that it's.
Who cares?
But the point is that he doesn't seem to the way if you obviously he hasn't said anything, but he's not. It doesn't. He's not making it sound like it's about to happen.
Yeah, the way Nate the Hate is behaving at the moment with this, I find fascinating. Since we already know the June Direct is coming, people have been talking about it for over a month. Look, the rumors, the guesses, the speculation on the dates was going to happen regardless, but it's really going to happen when we know it's factually happening because it was pre-announced. So it's like sometimes when Nate the Hate gets this way, and he doesn't get this way every time, it kind of depends on who the sources of the stuff is. But when it's people that he doesn't really know, like in this case, he probably doesn't know this Spanish person at all, right? I kind of just don't really like. This is the only thing maybe I'll say publicly that I don't really like about Nate the Hate is he gets kind of like stop talking about things that only I should be talking about, and I hate that. He kind of gets that way a little bit when it's people he doesn't know talking about it.
I think people should just be allowed to talk about what they want.
Yeah. Period. That's it.
Exactly. Like, what's the harm? There's zero harm.
Now, it's one thing if it's one thing to like maybe be against the spread of misinformation, and I understand that. Like that's fair. But when everything is clear on what's understood,
and what's
the problem?
Look, it's a rumor that it could be next week. It doesn't mean anything.
It's also one thing to say, no, my sources are saying this versus just no, don't talk about it.
Yeah, well, he's very subtle. He's like it's one of the you can just tell he's annoyed that people are talking about it more so than saying they're outright wrong.
Well, he's not the only person. There are people who think that you shouldn't talk about the direct until we know it's like the date.
You know what I find interesting for people like that? Here's the thing. That's like telling me I can't talk about the upcoming NFL season for the Packers until we're to game day.
Until I know this.
What does that even make sense?
And the times.
Do sports fans not love speculating about their teams, what they're going to do in the offseason, all this stuff? This is the same thing with video games. People like talking about it.
Let's go back to last summer.
No different.
Every day, what were people talking about? Where's Damian Lillard going? What's the rumor? What's the report?
Miami. It's all going Miami.
What did Damian Lillard
Miami's just got to meet the asking price. It's all Miami.
Right? And that was all of NBA sports media the entire summer.
It was.
It's always like that.
And then out of nowhere, he's going to the Bucks.
Lead up to free agency.
No one had them on the radar.
Yeah, but it's not everyone likes that, and that's totally fine.
Yeah,
it's totally fine. But also, people do like it. Obviously,
people have to understand, and this is the space I exist in. Like, yes, I report on things and share things, but in the end, kind of like it's entertainment. It's meant to be something to look forward to talking about, look forward to speculating. I keep asking people in comment section, hey, why don't you go down there and tell me, like, what are your predictions for the director? What are your predictions for the launch of your Switch or Switch 2 and stuff? Because it's more of a conversation because people like having conversations. It's just fun. Mm-hmm. Like, we all recognize we could all be wrong about everything. We're not Nintendo. But it's so fun to have the conversations. And then when stuff happens, look back on those and be like, oh, man, how did those conversations go? Were they right? Were they way off base? Cool. Like, I don't find harm in speculation. It's only harm when people start taking speculation and treating it as fact. Like you talked earlier, I'll just bring this up briefly. You brought up the Papagino situation. because he made this is a hint thing, playable Zelda. Then he went on a podcast, and then he even hinted heavily more than he really knew stuff. And then he was going to put something in his predictions video. Then his predictions video called out everyone who said he was leaking things. And then he just straight up said, no, this is just speculation based on research. And it's like, okay. So for me, and here's the thing, me and Papagenos follow each other. I think he makes really good content for the most part, but he also did the same shit with the Smash Bros characters and was wrong about every single one. So I just kind of think that based on what he does is that I think, while he might not ever admit it, he had multiple opportunities to stop people treating it like a leak, and he didn't do it. So I think a lot of it's for attention, and I think a lot of people out there that put out things or pretend to know things do it for attention, and that part bothers me.
I actually don't think that's what it is, right? I mean, he's gotten things right.
Yes, but he's gotten a lot wrong. You gotta actually look at his track record.
I'm sure
it's bad.
One thing he got right was a pizza.
Pizza, a Papa John's.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things where, so like, for example, right, you have journalists, right, that supposedly triple source. You're supposed to triple source, right? Is that the idea?
A lot of them double source, but yeah, triple's like you're locked in. This is the thing you think is happening.
That's when it's a report, when it's triple sourced, right?
Yeah, they'll still talk about it at 2. Now because of podcasts, they'll talk about it at 1, but they won't report it unless there's at least 2, and then they'll be like firm. This is happening for sure.
And so, but I bring that up though because like not everyone triple sources, but also not everyone's treating it as a report, right? And so maybe Papagenos did hear something, but because he's not going to just straight up say what happened because doesn't want to expose the information, he's not going to say what it is, right? He's not going to be blatant about what it is, right? And maybe it's just one source, and so maybe it shouldn't be treated as a leak. It's just a possibility because, when you only hear something from one place, that's not as confident as 3 places, right?
Sure.
And I think it could be as simple as that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It's a rumor.
Except he said it wasn't a rumor or a leak. That's the thing. He literally said it's not. That's the part. Is like he just came out and straight denied that it was that. That's what gets me, because he knew everyone was treating it that way. Then he continued to treat it that way. When he had his first public opportunity to deny it. And then when he finally put his video out on it, literally said that's not what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna just, he's his own person. Maybe we can ask
he is his own person, but it's very obvious what he did because he's done this before. He has a history of it. It sucks.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll tell you in terms of the direct date thing, right? Like, while I logically, through research and speculation,
speculation,
no rumors or leaks, right? I've stuck with my June 12th prediction, but I am concerned because I have not heard from anyone that I've seen to have a good track record in terms of direct prediction, like Nate the Hate, for example, right? Nate the Hate is usually a good measure if a direct's about to happen, because if Nate the Hate's not feeling it, then it may not be happening yet. So that is something to consider. I would put some weight there. But we'll find out.
Maybe Nintendo's just being extra quiet this time around, because
it could be.
Well, Nate the Hate also recently, when I say recently, the last couple of years, a lot of his direct stuff has come like within days, like PRO does, of it actually happening.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's Wednesday now. I mean, it's something. If we start hearing from like PRO tomorrow,
and these days he'd probably do it on a podcast.
Hey,
and he'd drop that episode. He would drop direct predictions because he does one every time. So there's going to be a direct predictions podcast, and he'll probably drop that the week that it's happening.
I hate to break it to you, Nate, but I think that those fish back there are doing inappropriate stuff.
Oh my God.
It's allowed on the Discovery Channel, so it's allowed on Nintendo Prime.
Oh my goodness.
Just to let you know.
Aren't there like songs that talking about like doing it like on Discovery Channel or something? That's crazy.
Just saying.
Yeah.
It's allowed in Mother Nature. It's allowed here.
I mean, is there anything else to say about like this Nintendo Direct stuff? I mean, I did kind of like blurt out all the info. I didn't really get your perspectives on it. Like, are we feeling a 2D Zelda announcement during this Direct? Like, is that something we feel like is going to happen, or
how we feeling, Steve? What do you see?
Well, 2D Zelda.
Yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense. I do, because I think we've all kind of mentioned it before that if a 2D Zelda comes out on Switch, people won't feel like, man, I wish this was saved for Switch 2. And that really resonates with me. I think that does make a lot of sense because everyone expects a 3D Zelda to launch, not at launch, right? But to come out on Switch 2. The next 3D Zelda would be Switch 2. But there's nothing wrong with bringing a 2D Zelda, I think, to Switch 1 right now. And obviously, it's going to be backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, you got the install base. It's going to print money. If it's a remake, great. Like if it's a 2D remake, obviously it could be a number of things. It could be the Oracle games. You already got the Link's Awakening engine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the specifics, right?
I will say this on Twitter. Papagino said it's not Oracle of Ages.
I did see that, right? I did see that.
Yeah.
So,
but you'll be happy.
But could it be something else? Could it be? I mean, could it be the original Zelda?
That would be awesome.
I mean, I also think too, like, what do they want to put out there prior to, say, announcing the casting of the movie? Like, whatever next Zelda they put out, Zelda game, I think is going to line up. And it's like, are you trying to craft any sort of narrative into that game that leads into?
That's a good.
Like, do you want to lay a foundation for the fans who don't know Zelda yet, or don't know it all, and like? Would that be a good time to remake the original? Lay that little foundation there about the Triforce of power, courage, and wisdom? Does everybody know about that? The Triforce has been absent for a long time. So I think about that.
That's interesting.
I'm jumping on it. I think you're kind of really close to, because we are getting a movie, and who knows if we get a cast announcement in this Direct, because they've announced they did announce the cast for Super Mario in a Direct. During a Direct, Miyamoto came in and said, here's the cast for the Super Mario movie. That's when we found out about Chris Pratt, and everybody started laughing and yelling and everything. So there could be a Zelda game, like you said, that could actually just kind of there, and then they announced the cast for the movie too. You know,
I got a prediction. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't want to go too crazy into it. But it's going to be a brand new top-down Zelda game.
Yeah, like
this year.
Just like they did side-scrolling Mario last year, brand new. Because they don't need it to sell a new system. Zelda, but it'd be great on a system with an already built install base.
With OLED edition.
And
that'll sell.
And I think this is where people are going to start going crazy. I think it's going to be the third game in the Oracle series that we were supposed to get.
I saw your video on that. I was like, oh my God.
Now, people are going to go crazy because everyone's going to start assuming, that means we're getting the Oracle remakes down the line, which we very well might. We very well might. But I'm just putting it out there as a possibility, because at this point, the game would probably be changed so much from what it was going to be that you might not even initially realize that it is the third game. Until you start catching all the references that line up with those other games, and you're like, what is going on?
That'd be neat.
Yeah, you had a really good reason in your video as to why. Like I was listening to it. I was at the gym and I had my earpods in, and you had a really good reason. I forget what it was, but I started shaking my head like, oh shit, that is a good point.
And I don't even remember now. You're stating something I said like a week ago. Now I don't even remember.
Time to watch the video.
That's how bad my week has been. I got to go rewatch my own video to see what I said.
It was a convincing reason. I'll just say that. Like, it made sense. It definitely
I must have scripted that section of the video if it was that convincing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm on board with it to be on the 12th. I love the fact that we might get a Zelda remake. Like a remake. Yeah, that's basically what you've spoken about, right? That's it. Just
I don't think it's a remake. I think it's a new Zelda game. But I'll take whatever.
Yeah,
I'll take whatever.
Top down Zelda game.
I mean, watch it be a remake for like Minish Cap.
Watch it be Triforce Heroes 2.
I would still take it.
I'll still take it. I'll play it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they learned from the mistakes of the first game to prevent some of the trolling in the second.
I'll say it would be kind of bad as like the premier Nintendo title for the holiday if it's Triforce.
Well, I don't know if anyone would consider a top-down Zelda as a premier holiday game, but it probably would be this year.
Hold on a second though. We count Mario Wonder though, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Besides, Mario's always outsold 3D Mario. It's been bigger.
Not this gen though.
Well, no, this is the first time. Mario Odyssey is the game that broke the barrier.
All right, well, I mean, let's dive into that because I've seen some conversation on this. Like, there are people who think that Luigi's Mansion 2 is going to outsell a new 2D Zelda. I think that's I think that's tone deaf.
Why do you think it's tone deaf?
I can only say that to you, right? If I say it everywhere else, that's like extremely insulting. Because I think, if you just look at like a sales sheet, like, oh, that sold more, therefore that's better, right? That's kind of like the energy of, oh, you have like the people in the business meeting that don't actually understand the product or the people, and they just make decisions based off numbers. And before you know it, it no longer does well, right? I think Luigi's Mansion 2 is going to do well. I do. But I also think that we're in the end times for the Switch, right? Like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon came out back on 3DS in its heyday. And I think that does make a difference. But also, while there are cases where remakes and remasters can do really well and sometimes better, like Miitopia, right? There are cases where they do worse. Like New Super Mario Bros. U, like that didn't like, take off, right? So it might be worth looking into sales there because maybe it did better because Wii U had like a limited.
Yeah, I was gonna say New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe sold almost 17 million on Switch. I don't know how this is.
Yeah,
that's a good example.
Maybe it's not a great example.
There's only 13 million Wii U's, so maybe it definitely outsold the original.
Better example. There are better examples there.
I was gonna say that's like a slaughter.
But Mario Wonder is a bigger deal than New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Better
right?
be.
Yeah, I only say probably because I don't know if it's going to actually end up topping the sales of the other one. But for Mario fans, it's a new game. So, yeah.
But the other thing is that, like, so I guess it's a little tough to gauge, right? Because you look at, literally, I did a poll, right, on my own channel. I mean, not my channel, my Twitter, right? And my poll, how did it go? All right, so I did a poll, right? And I only got 206 votes, but of these 206 votes, I asked, what would Will sell the most copies this year, right? Yeah, I had four options: 1,000 Year Door, Luigi's Mansion 2, new 2D Zelda, new Mario Party. And Luigi's Mansion 2 was the worst in this poll. It only got 9.7%. Meanwhile, new 2D Zelda won the poll at 41.3%. And I've done this poll on YouTube as well, and but it wasn't with Zelda or Mario Party. It was just Luigi's Mansion over 1,000 Year Door. And so obviously these are just, audiences that I'm reaching, right?
Yeah.
And my audiences are more of a hardcore audience. I think there is definitely like absolutely a lot of casuals, right? People who will just pick up Luigi's Mansion. But that's the other thing, though. Luigi's Mansion 3 is the like Luigi's Mansion for Switch. I don't know if that audience is going to pick up Luigi's Mansion 2 the same way they picked up Luigi's Mansion 3. I think there is something for certain games, you pick up one, and that's kind of it in terms of reaching the casual audience. For the hardcores, yeah, we'll buy more than that, right? I'm like I said, I think Luigi's Mansion 2 is going to do well, but I don't think it's going to eclipse the sales of Dark Moon on 3DS. And so I look at 2D Zelda, right? And I've seen the Zelda franchise has grown, right? Link's Awakening did extremely well, like over 6.5 million, I think, right? That's pretty good.
It's the best-selling version of the game.
And that is, and so this is something else to consider here. That was a remake, right, of a Game Boy game, and there was a lot of conversation that it was overpriced for what it was. And then there's also a similar conversation going on for Luigi's Mansion 2 right now. And it's not considered to be a very ambitious remaster. I think it's actually pretty good, just for the record. But there is that conversation. And so I think the value proposition is also different. Like Luigi's Mansion 2 at this higher price tag relative to other things out in the market, when there's already Luigi's Mansion 3 and how it appeals to that casual audience. I think that compared to a new 2D Zelda game, which I think has more potential than, say, Link's Awakening remake. I mean, I could see new 2D Zelda at least hitting 8, if not 10 plus. So, and I'm not certain Luigi's Mansion 2 hits 10 plus.
So Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon sold 6 million copies on the 3DS.
Yeah.
And then the Luigi's Mansion 3 sold 14 million copies on Switch. So I'm guessing that anybody who played Luigi's Mansion 3 might be interested in playing Luigi's Mansion 2.
I mean, I'm gonna buy Luigi's Mansion 2.
What was the install base on 3DS versus Switch?
Like 80 million.
70 million units of the 3DS versus 141 million.
That's almost a difference in sales.
Counting. So
yeah.
So I guess I'm on the train that Luigi's Mansion 2 might do really good on Switch just because of that. Just because
we got a problem.
I think it's gonna do a lot better on Switch. I think it might. I'm gonna say 12 million total.
I think it will surpass 10.
Yeah,
I think it'll hit double digits.
Power went out for Nate, and by extension Eric, because they run the show in the same room. But carry on.
Yeah, we're good. I mean, so Luigi's Mansion 2, I think is gonna do well when it comes to sales. I'm with you. I don't think it's gonna beat Zelda, a new Zelda port. If we get a new Zelda game, a new top-down Zelda game, and we get a Luigi's Mansion, I think Zelda's gonna top it, just because of the hype after Tears of the Kingdom. After that, people are excited for a brand new experience with Zelda. And if we do get a traditional top-down Zelda game, that's gonna be exciting for old fans and the newer fans as well. So I'm with you. I hope they do go back to the past and go to it. And it's a new Zelda, but kind of make it feel like the beginning of it. Like Zelda 1 in a new way, right? Because this makes sense with the movie coming up, and they want to have they want to have that game fresh in people's minds when they do make the announcement. Because I believe the movie is going to be a brand new story. It's not going to be based on anything. It's going to be like on for the general population, and the general rule for the movie is to make new fans. So they want to kind of, they might promote the game as also that type of thing. You want to get into the Zelda game for the first time? Perfect game to start the Zelda, game with that brand new top down, and then you can continue playing the rest.
It would be the most accessible, because it's always been said that the 2D Zeldas, right, are more accessible. Now for us, any game's accessible, right? For everyone probably tuning in to this podcast, any game's accessible. But for the mass majority, which, I would presume Nintendo would want to reach the mass majority, because it would only help that game sell. It only help the movie do better. That they would want to make the most accessible Zelda possible while still satisfying what the hardcore audience like us wants.
Yeah.
So I really love to see this 2D top down, whether it be a remake or a brand new one. Both, I am 100% handing over my money day one for the pre-order. Don't care.
So, show's been going on for over an hour. There are other topics. This show's supposed to be shorter. The host is not even here, or the second host. But the show must go on. So here we are. Hopefully Nate's power comes back soon.
Yeah.
But I do think we should move on, unless there's anything else you guys want to speak on regarding the direct, because we still got a lot to talk about.
I'm ready to move on.
Me too. Yeah.
All right, Steve. So what topic were you gonna do? I guess.
All right, guys. So I got a good one. It is the top 5 Zelda games of all time. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and go first, and then I'll hand it off to Andres and then Mike. Okay.
Yep, sure.
All right, guys. So first things first, let me say that this is in no specific order. These are just my top 5. Okay. The first one I got to go with is the game that really set the stage for me with video games. This was the first game I ever got to buy. My mom took me to Target. It's my 5th birthday. And she said, you get to pick, any game you want. And I never got to. I'm the youngest of 3. And so when we'd go, it wasn't often, honestly, and you guys all know this probably back in the day growing up, that you got to buy video games. You usually rented them, right? Because it's like, well, why buy them if you know you can beat them in a few days? was always the logic there, right? You could rent more games and play more games versus buying one. But anyways, I knew exactly, of course, what game I wanted. And of course, it was the gold box. I wanted Legend of Zelda. And I was with my oldest brother, and this is a classic story. He knows this. He told my mom, don't let him buy it. He won't get it. It's too hard. I was so pissed. I'm still pissed about it right now, just thinking about it. So my mom literally wouldn't let me buy Zelda. I had to get Adventure Island instead. I really didn't want that. I settled for it. And you guys know what happens. You buy a game, you come home and open it, you're screwed. You ain't gonna be able to return that. That's the policy. That's the policy everywhere. That was the policy in the 80s, 90s, so on and so forth. However, I remember my mom came in. She's like, are you liking the game? And I said, honestly, not really. It's not what I wanted. I really wanted Zelda. She said, you want to get in the car and we can go see if we can return it? I'm like, and this is me at 5. I remember telling my mom, like, well, they're not going to do it. It's opened. She's like, let's just try. So we did. I don't know what my mom said, but they let us return it. And I got Legend of Zelda. And I was so happy. Honestly, I was so happy. I very vividly remember that. So that game is very, very special to me, important. I recently actually replayed through Zelda. I think about, maybe a month ago. Absolutely loved it. To me, it still holds up in every way. I'm very nostalgic to it, though. So, of course, the first Zelda, A Link to the Past, will be my second game. I get very similar memories of playing that right when Super Nintendo came out. The Light and Dark World, how freaking cool that was when you get the magic mirror. Mike, have you played this one?
Link to the Past, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. You said you played 4, and I don't want to spoil anything.
I've seen it beaten, but I played it myself, but I haven't beaten it yet.
It is absolutely amazing. The soundtrack is amazing. Yeah, you have different items you get in the game. The game's very special to me, and that's the common theme with really all the games on this Zelda list. So my next one would be Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time, yeah.
Ocarina. Have you guys looked up how to say that properly? You know, it's an Italian word. Did you guys know that?
Really?
Yeah.
I'm learning that right now.
Look it up. So I'm Italian. I know.
You want to hear my take?
Yes.
My take is there are multiple ways to say many things, and that's okay. And I actually think the real problem is people that take issue with hearing things in a way that they're not used to.
Yeah. Totally.
As someone who grew up in Florida, right? Grew up in Florida. My dad's from New York, right? My mom came from Cuba, right? So like I'm well acquainted with the New York accent. I'm well acquainted with, Spanglish, right? And the Spanish accent. And also like there are different here in Miami, it's like a melting pot of different Hispanic cultures. Like you have Argentinians, Nicaraguans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, Colombians, right? All over. And a lot of them have different dialects and different words and different ways of saying things. And all of them are different from Spaniard Spanish, right? They're all so different, right? And then meanwhile, I don't know how I sound, right? But, my understanding is that I don't have that much of an accent, really, right? I just speak like, American, right? But my point is that like I'm used to hearing things in different ways, and that's completely fine. So, ocarina.
Thank you.
I knew what you were saying.
Thank you for being the voice of reason. So no doubt, I got that game day one. Had it pre-ordered at Toys R Us. Of course, it came out in November '98. I had the collector's edition box, which you guys familiar with the N64 collector's edition box?
Yeah,
it's badass. Again, my oldest brother, we got into it, and he stomped on my box. You guys know, like I keep my shit in good condition. I have stuff from the 80s that's in mint condition. So when that happened, I was obviously very upset. Still mad about that. But guys, that game really changed everything because it was like 2D Mario to Mario 64 and 2D Zelda to 3D. That jump was amazing. The way they did it was spectacular. The soundtrack is so memorable. The dungeons, everything about that game, very special to me. And then my fourth would be Tears of the Kingdom. I feel like we've talked about Tears of the Kingdom a lot. It could be Breath of the Wild. It could be Tears of the Kingdom. That's the new direction for Zelda. I love it. I love both games, but I will go with Tears of the Kingdom. And for my last pick, I had to think about this one because there's 3 games that could have been this last pick. But what I ended up going with is Twilight Princess. I absolutely love this game. You guys got to understand. And I don't know where you're at with gaming at this time, but when Space World 2000 happened, or 2000 or 2001, they showed a tech demo for Zelda running on the Dolphin, which of course turned into GameCube. And it was a realistic Zelda. And guys, it looked so badass. Like everybody was talking about it. Everybody. Anyone who was into gaming was talking about this trailer and it was like, holy shit, the GameCube could do that. It was extremely impressive. People were hyped. Okay. Fast forward 2 years. What happens? Toon Link. I've never seen the gaming community so upset as I did when that happened. Now, I saw it. I'm watching E3 live and I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, like this looks really cool. It looks like a cartoon. Yeah. Would I have liked the realistic Zelda? Yes, but I trust Miyamoto. I really do. I trust Nintendo. Trust this is going to be a good game. And looks aren't everything. Graphics are not. It's always gameplay. That's key. That's what always matters. So we didn't get it. But then a couple years later, we do get it. And that's when Twilight Princess happens. So we thought we were never going to get that realistic looking Zelda at Space World. We thought, hey, maybe this is the direction Nintendo's going because we got that. Then we got Phantom Hourglass. Same cell shaded. That was a trend back then. We're getting a lot of cell shaded stuff. And it's like, oh shit. I don't know if we're ever going to get that realistic Zelda. But when that trailer hit at E3 2005, holy shit. That was insane. Do you guys remember that?
You mean E3 2004?
Was it 4? Yeah.
The first Twilight Princess trailer.
When people
they kind of went for like
crying.
the Lord of the Rings sort of theme, and like Link was charging into the sunset against the army of like bokoblins on their hogs. Oh, I
rewatched it today.
It's a top 3 trailer of all time.
Yeah, I rewatched it today. I seriously got chills. I was like, holy shit! It still gets me. And they did that trailer so good. It was the last thing they showed for that E3. The music they used was perfect, and you're just like, wow! Like I can't believe we're getting this. And that's why those are my top 5. That's why Twilight Princess got in. My honorable mention, of course, goes to Wind Waker and Link's Awakening.
Solid list.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike, you want to go next?
Sure. Mine's super quick, because
I disagree.
Mine's a super quick. I don't have those beautiful memories that
in the interest of time, that's perfectly fine.
But I would say I've only finished 4 of them. I've actually played. I would say most. I think maybe all of them, except for a couple of them. Well, actually, I haven't played all of them just because I haven't played most of the handheld ones. You guys know why?
Yeah.
But I would say that the first one I would go for is, even if I haven't finished it, I would say Ocarina of Time. I am now playing. I bought the copy, and I have this little. I bought the copy, and I also have the little device where I can actually burn the game to my computer to pass the file over, and I can emulate the file. I can emulate. So that's what I'm doing. I'm buying games and all of 3DS games, and I'm emulating them. I'm adding a texture pack to it, so I can actually paint it HD.
Yeah.
And so I started Ocarina of Time yesterday like that. Like, oh my god, this is
3D.
amazing.
Looks great.
Beautiful. It looks beautiful. It looks great. I think I like the version from 3DS better than I like the actual one from 64.
Sure. I mean, it's got improvements.
Yeah. So Ocarina of Time, of course, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, and then Link's Awakening. I finished that one, and wait, I finished another one, right? I finished 4 of them. Ocarina of Time wasn't one of them. That's just in my top. The first Zelda game, because I did have the actual gold, the gold case in my. I remember there is a story to that one, because the person who actually got me into Nintendo was my cousin. He was like a brother to me, and he sadly he passed away. And it's weird because it's like a lost bullet got him, literally a lost bullet. And so he was the one who got me into Nintendo. I was playing Punch Out with him, Kung Fu, Super Mario. I used to just like walk across the street to his house to play his Nintendo system. And then we used to walk across the street to go into the pizzeria and play the arcades, Donkey Kong, Mario, all that on the actual arcade when they came out. So it was just 80s was the best. They were the best.
They were.
And so I got that game from my dad. Brought me that game when I came to Puerto Rico for the first time. I was like, I didn't know Spanish. I was like in a different world because everybody was, different. It was a little more violent than I'm used to. There was this thing called Vejigantes in Puerto Rico where the teenagers were dressed in these type of masks with these giant horns and stuff like that. Like they look like devils. And then they used to put a 2-liter a bottle in a sock and run after kids and just gonna hit them with it. I'm like, what the heck is this?
Mm-hmm.
How is this like a game? And so my dad was here selling the house, and I went with my mom and my brother to Puerto Rico. It was like a different world. And I remember the first time my dad came to Puerto Rico, he brought my very first Nintendo set. He came with a box. I'm pretty sure it was used because it wasn't new. It was in a cardboard box. It wasn't the original box. It had the NES. It had the Mario game. It had the Zelda game with the gold one. And they had the Zapper. Mario and Duck Hunt, both 2-in-1. And I think to this day, I think that system used to belong to my cousin. And I think my cousin, just because we bonded over that, I think my cousin actually sent his personal system to me in Puerto Rico. So it's like that's my little thought. From that point on, I fell in love with Nintendo. That's why I to this day, you could tell, it's not, not And so I think I already said my 4, right? Did I say my 5?
I think that's it.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So here's my list. I'm going to go in from the bottom, right? So I'm going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, right?
All right.
My 1 may annoy some people. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm like, I wrote them down here, but I haven't organized them. So I'm like deciding what's number 5 right now of the 5 that I have here. 5. Anyway, this is tough, but I think I know what the answer is. And it's kind of one of those things where like my personal excitement, they waver, right? Like, like right now, even though I'm putting it here, my excitement for it is higher than 5, right? And so I'm putting at 5 The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask, it just stands out so much across all the other Zelda games. And it's so cool. It's dark. It's spooky. It's eerie. And I love it, right? But I'm not gonna go. We got other things to talk about. So that's my piece on number 5. Number 4, I'm going to award to The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess.
Okay.
Now, Twilight Princess, Steve, you brought up like that trailer back in E3 2004. It was amazing. I remember I was a little kid back then. Like, and this is like the first game that I was like all in, waiting to hear every little thing, get every pic or image of it. I just looked at a million times over. I would just spend afternoons thinking about Twilight Princess until the day would come out. Right, it was amazing. And when it was delayed, I was heartbroken. Like that's how it was back then. There was one time where my stepmom was like, "Oh, I don't know if you get this game," and I literally said, "Let me get this game. This will be the last game I ever get," which was a stupid thing to say, and that's not actually what happened. But back as a little kid, when your perspective is skewed, I was willing to make that sacrifice. I believed in Twilight Princess that much. So in hindsight, I'm only putting it at number 4 here. Maybe I shouldn't have been that, gung-ho about it. But Twilight Princess, regardless, though, it was an amazing game. It did overall, meet my expectations. I cried at the end. I loved the game. It was great. I do wish it was a little harder, though, but whatever. That's fine. Number 3 is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, which is also not that hard. But the thing about The Wind Waker, it's actually smaller than Twilight Princess, which you could maybe argue length is great, but I think sometimes, there's something to being a bit more concise, because you know what? The Zelda game that I've replayed and beaten the most, it's The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. And I think, that should say a lot, right? I think that speaks to just its overall gameplay loop, its quality, how good it is. Let me hold on a second. I'm seeing something here that Nate's saying. I'm not sure. Yeah, Steve, you read it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Wind Waker. I think it's deserving the 3rd spot. Now, in the 2nd spot, this was initially my favorite game of all time, and that is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I feel like I don't need to say anymore. Everyone kind of understands Ocarina of Time's the GOAT, or was in the GOAT conversation for a long time, and for some still is. Mm-hmm. And so it was there. Now, before I get to my top spot, I want to mention a couple honorables, right? I'm going to put Minish Cap in there. I love Minish Cap. I recognize that this is maybe the only 2D Zelda I have on the list. It's not that I don't like 2D Zelda, but 2D Zelda is not on the same level as 3D Zelda to me. And it's just that simple. I've played A Link to the Past. I've played Link's Awakening. I've played every single 2D Zelda outside of Oracle of Ages and Seasons, which I need to play, and I will. Mm-hmm. So, I think they're great, but 3D Zelda is just on their level, which is why this list is mostly just 3D Zelda. Actually, it's 100% 3D Zelda. Another honorable mention is Skyward Sword. Love that game, but it's just not good enough to make the cut compared to the others. Amazing story. But anyways, for my top spot, you might be wondering, well, hold on a second. There are 2 huge Zelda games that came out during this generation, and neither have been mentioned yet. And there's only 1 spot left. What the hell? This is where people get annoyed with me. I'm kind of including them into 1 spot. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are just one game. It's just 1 game to me.
Yeah, I was about to do that too, so I don't think.
Yeah. Although I could maybe say add in the little asterisk that Tears of the Kingdom isn't actually even a count in this list, because it's just not old enough for me to assess it, over time. I think as years progress, especially with games like this, you need time to fully understand how good it is and how much you appreciate it. It wasn't until right before Tears of the Kingdom came out that I came to the decision that Breath of the Wild, which had been out for 7 years at that point or something like that, 6.5 years at that point, 6 years. Yeah, so it had been out for 6 years at that point when I decided that it was my favorite game ever. That's when it went above Ocarina of Time. Mm-hmm. It took me years to come to that conclusion. So I guess really I want to kind of include Tears because it's so similar to Breath of the Wild, but at the same time, I feel like I won't be able to appropriately assess Tears of the Kingdom until years from now. And so, Breath of the Wild, though, is, I guess, my favorite Zelda game, which is odd because it's so different from a lot of the other Zelda games. And I recognize from a dungeon perspective, it's maybe the weakest Zelda, but also it does something that Nintendo set out to do. They recognized that the essence of what Zelda is adventure. And that's what Breath of the Wild nails better than any game ever made. it is the ultimate adventure game outside of maybe Tears, right? And so for that reason, it does that the biggest, most important part of Zelda better than any other. And it's a game that reminded me that Nintendo still has that magic. They are still the best.
Yeah.
And so Breath of the Wild is my favorite.
Can I ask you a question? Both of you, because you guys already know me. I'm not a lore person. Never been a lore person. I'm a fun guy. Just like I love video games, right? And so throughout my entire life with Nintendo, Mario's been my main guy, right? Mario's not big on story. We know Princess gets kidnapped, rescue her, moving forward, right? Mario 2, same thing. You know, I got into the Legend of Zelda. I would say with the Wii, maybe. That's when I started getting a little bit into Legend of Zelda, but more, of course, with the Nintendo Switch, with Link's Awakening, with Twilight, not the Twilight Princess, the other one, the first game in the timeline. I'm having a brain fart.
Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword, yeah, Skyward Sword. So I basically started getting into the story of it. I know the gist and everything, but my question is, you know how people like, oh, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, DLC, one to another, right? Was there that same feeling for Majora's Mask from Ocarina of Time? Since
I would like to point out I was like 8 or 9 years old when Majora's Mask came out.
Yeah.
And also the internet was arguably kind of in its infancy.
Yeah,
so
I agree. But to me now, when I look at those two games, I'm like, it's like I feel like I'm watching Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's like they sound the same, they look the same. I just see that big giant ugly moon in the sky, and then there's a mask involved. But and it comes to, of course, story wise, there have to be a different story. But when it comes to the look of the game, the graphics are exactly the same.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about how digestible Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are, similar to Wind Waker, right? They're games from an older time where expectations weren't as high, and so the games weren't as long, they weren't as big.
Yeah,
especially Majora's Mask has 4 dungeons. Wind Waker, I don't remember how many dungeons it has. It's not as much as others as like Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess.
Mm-hmm.
They're quicker and easier to finish, and so it's kind of, I guess what I'm getting at. You look at like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. To really play and fully experience those games, right? Like, you can blitz the dungeons, but that's not really the experience of those games.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. They're not as digestible, and so it's I think it's harder to sort of assess them for that reason so quickly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I will also say there is nothing about Majora's Mask that I can remember where it feels like people were like, oh man, this is, here's the other thing though. I think there was never a debate. Like, obviously some people like Majora's Mask more than Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's one of those things where when someone says that, for the most part, they recognize that it's like, hey, Ocarina of Time kind of set the standard, but Majora's Mask is more weird, and I like it because it's more weird, and so it's just more of like a taste thing, and it's not like, oh my god, how dare you like Majora's Mask more than Ocarina of Time? It's kind of like, okay, I get that you like it more because it's weird. That's cool.
Yeah,
and so like, but with Breath or Tears, it's like, oh my god, Tears is not as good as Breath. Like, that's kind of like what it is now. It's not like apples and oranges thing. It's this is an apple, this is a bigger apple, which one's better? So that's kind of a little bit a part of the conversation now.
So basically Majora's Mask was just a darker game than Ocarina of Time was, so people like that darkness better in a way, right? When it comes to
Ocarina of Time was still dark, but Majora's Mask, it was weird and creepy.
Was it Termina?
Yeah. Which, by the way, when you think about terminal, anyway, it's dark.
It was dark, man. It was dark.
Yeah.
There's definitely things that maybe as a younger kid, for all of us, I was a teenager.
I don't want to see that moon. I'm an adult, and I don't want to play that game.
So creepy.
Well, yeah, but there's stuff that you pick up on now, like you just said, Andres. Termina being terminal. Like there's some interesting undertones there that you wouldn't get really as a kid.
Yeah, I would say Majora's Mask is darker, but there are some really dark things in Ocarina of Time, like the well. Like there's like blood on the walls and chains and skeletons, right? There's allusions to a civil war. Like it's not like extreme. Like there are moments that are bright and cheery. Both games have bright and cheery moments, but there's also a lot of darkness in them. They were really cool. But I think we should continue on with the cast. So
let's do it.
Yeah.
What's the next topic?
Well, that's a fantastic question.
I got him here.
Nintendo Direct leaks. We got that. Switch to rumors and leaks. That was Nate's. The rumors.
Yeah. So yeah, we got two left. The Switch rumor leak update and our favorite E3 summer show memory.
I can take Eric's. I could take that E3 topic if you guys would like.
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
All right. I came prepared. Actually, I watched these. I watched some of these earlier. I took a trip down memory lane for old time's sake. So first off, I will say, guys, that when it comes to E3, I read about it for the first time in Nintendo Power. This is before, of course, it was broadcasted, and this was when they were teasing Project Reality, which, of course, turned into Nintendo 64. So I just so happened to be able to kind of witness E3 from day one. And, of course, as we got the internet, you're able to download E3 because there was no live streaming yet on the internet. And even if there was, there's no way you'd be able to live stream it on a 56K modem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think the first E3, and you guys, if there's anybody really old in the chat, you guys might know what I'm talking about. There was a website called planetgamecube.com. And the guy who ran it, his name was Billy Berghammer. I think he works for possibly Apple now. And so he ran a Nintendo website. It was first like Planet N2000 and then Planet GameCube. And then he sold it and it turned into NintendoWorldReport.com, which you might be familiar with. And they were selling E3 2004 on DVD. And you could like send in your payment. And this was when it was kind of sketchy, I think, still at that age, trying to buy anything on the internet. But you could buy the DVD, and I did. And so I bought E3 2004, watched it. And of course, everyone knows the most special thing about that E3 was it was Reggie's first E3. He came out to the stage. He said, "My name is Reggie." And no one had met him. Nintendo hadn't introduced him yet. This was literally his first time. He says, "My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names. And we're about making games." And it was so cool. Yeah. Like, it was so cool because Nintendo had the GameCube out, the purple lunchbox, as everyone called it back then. And, I think real, like, true gamers respected the GameCube. I think there was other probably gamers at that point in my life, because I'm in high school, right? Where they think GameCube's stupid. They think it's a kid's console.
Yeah.
And, Nintendo had that kiddie image, as they used to call it, for a very long time. But GameCube, man, that was a special time. And Reggie comes out, and by him saying that, it almost gave Nintendo power.
Yeah.
To like move past that, to leave that image in the past. And then they later go on to show Resident Evil 4, which, as we know, that was a GameCube exclusive. That was part of the Capcom 5. Do you guys remember the Capcom 5? That whole thing, it was a huge deal because Nintendo was getting 5 exclusives from Capcom. I remember it was Resident Evil 4, Killer 7 was one of them.
Was Beautiful Joe was only a timed exclusive, right?
Beautiful Joe.
No, it came out for PS2. I know it did.
But later. And I think it was supposed to be, Andres, one of the exclusives. And then it did come out. And just like Resident Evil 4. So these games were supposed to be just exclusive to GameCube. To my knowledge, they weren't supposed to be timed exclusives. Long story short,
Mm.
but they ended up going, multi-platform, which is probably best at that time because GameCube, obviously didn't sell super well. But that press conference or that E3 was amazing. And then the next year, E3 2005, Nintendo Revolution. Huge, dude. Huge, because they showed the Revolution, the console. They didn't show the controller. Nobody knew what it was. And it's funny, Mike, because like you dig into the patents on your channel. Like you are the patent dude. Back then, we were looking at patents too. Like I digged at patents as well. And we found the patent for the accelerometers in the Wiimote. We didn't know. There was no name. We had never seen it. All we knew is, wait, Nintendo's going to put accelerometers in their new controller? How? So we literally had to sit and speculate for like a year because we didn't find out until a year later what was actually going to go on at E3 2006. So E3 2005 was awesome because you had that, and then you had the Twilight Princess reveal.
Yeah.
Which was just absolutely epic. You could look it up. There's articles about it still to this day. There's like people at IGN watching it, live at the auditorium, crying, like grown men crying. This game made grown men cry. It was awesome. And like I said, I rewatched it today. I'm like, shit, man, this still hits. Still hits hard. E3 2006, we revealed one of my favorites. And then I got to give one shout out to E3 2017 because that's the one that I went to. It's the only E3 I got to go to. And the most memorable part by far was going across the street to the junket that Devolver Digital was holding. You had to have a special pass to get in.
Yeah.
We did not have it. I told my cousin Jim to walk in past security like you own the place, like you're meant to be here. And I said, start yelling towards me from the other side because I haven't walked in yet. And I'm going to act like I'm meeting you, like it's no big deal. I'm just going to stroll in. It worked. We ended up talking with people from IGN. I remember like Kotaku was there, Game Informer, Niche Gamer, like all these websites from back then. They had keg beer the whole time. As soon as it went dry, a new keg was being rolled in. It was free, by the way. All the drinks were free. There was other stuff going on too that I won't say on this podcast. I didn't participate. My cousin did. Nothing too bad. It's legal in most states. But they asked what we do because it was for the media only. You know what we told them? And I just literally thought of this on the fly and my cousin went with it. I told them we're with the ESRB, the rating board. We said they sent us because we're the only ones who work there that are single and don't have kids. So they send us every year. Dude, it was like perfect. Seriously. So we were known as the ESRB guys. Mind you, I'm working in mortgage.
Yeah.
I'm a director at a mortgage company. I took days off to go to E3. Like I took PTO to go do this because this was like a bucket list thing for me was to go to E3. This was one of the first ones that they made open to the general public. So all you had to do was pay for the ticket. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm in. For once, you didn't need media credentials.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, inside E3, it wasn't that cool. It was already on its way down, but the partying for 3 days straight, because they had it all 3 days. This wasn't like one party. This was every day. The partying there brought E3 to a level that it could probably never achieve. So the fact that I can never go again, I'm cool with. So that's my story. Andres, what would you say? What is your favorite?
I mean, that's tough. You brought up a lot of really good ones. And so, yeah, I love those, but I'll just name a few that were cool. Like E3 2016 was interesting because we just got a huge Breath of the Wild blowout. I remember just like staying, in all day and just watching every ounce of Breath of the Wild footage. Like, it was such an amazing thing. It was wild because pun not intended, but like, it was so incredible what they did back then, because we were in the Wii U era where Nintendo was like dead in the water, right? Especially compared to everyone else. And they came with one game to rule them all. And it was no, everyone was like, what? They're only going to show Breath of the Wild? That's not going to do much for them. And it did everything for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the sentiment was a Nintendo 1 E3 with a single game. And then that game ended up being the launch title for what I think probably going to become their best selling console of all time. And probably maybe even I do believe it's going to pass PS2. So I think it's going to go down as the best selling console of all time. So Breath of the Wild is a big deal, a big part of that. But another moment I'll mention, also Zelda related, and I have one more that also will probably annoy some people. This one probably won't annoy people too much. E3 2019, I think it was an incredibly strong Nintendo Direct. And like, for me, like, it was a solid Direct all around. And then the last two announcements were just wild. Again, pun not intended. But that second to last one where they confirmed Banjo-Kazooie coming to Smash Brothers, I was over the moon for that. It was the stuff of dreams. I'm pretty sure I said it back then. And that should have been the end of the show, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm kind of overlooking the fact that Banjo is not that mainstream, and so Banjo as a penultimate announcement was fine, but as a final announcement wouldn't have gone over well for the masses. Maybe that's the case. To that I say, what's wrong with you? Banjo's epic. But anyway, right? Ignore moving past this, one of the best characters in Smash Bros. And one of the coolest like franchises that was on the N64.
Mm-hmm.
That final announcement where they teased, first off, I think most of us were under the expectation then that we weren't going to see another Zelda for a long time. Like, we weren't like, oh, yep, it's time to see the next Zelda. No, we were like, hey, we'll wait a few years, right? And what's crazy is that they kind of then made us think we could see a Zelda soon because it gave us that trailer, but instead it was many years later. But when we saw that trailer, the sequel to the Breath of the Wild trailer with the green swirls, I think they're iconic, the green swirls. That trailer is amazing. And the way they revealed Ganondorf in that way, it was a long time before we got another update, but that trailer was one of the best trailers I think they've ever made. It was so hype-inducing. It was so cool. There was so much to analyze about it. And my voice was done for like a week or two after that Direct. It was such a special, beautiful, amazing, epic time. And then for the third one, this is where it's going to annoy some people. It doesn't exist yet. I predict that one of the best, it's not an E3 moment, but it's like a summer event Direct moment.
Maybe it comes back. You never know. E3 is not, maybe it comes back.
Metroid, maybe you're right. But when we see that first Metroid Prime 4 trailer,
could be Wednesday.
You're going to lose your shit.
I'm going to lose my shit. I already know I'm going to lose my shit. I might need to put on some diapers. Like, it's going to be crazy. Now, watch it not even be in the Direct and we see it like in September for a Switch 2 reveal or something. But I hope we get a trailer on it. I think it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I hope so too. I'm excited for it, but I'm almost more excited for you to see this.
I'm not even that big of a Metroid fan. But for some reason, my expectations for Metroid Prime 4 are over the roof, and that gets me super excited, So I'm excited for you. Plus, I'm excited for I'm excited for the heights that Metroid Prime 4 can take the franchise. And I'm trusting you guys. You can do the best. It's been a while since you've been working on it. That means you're cooking something good. You're learning from Breath of the Wild. You're doing, not that you're gonna make an open world. That don't mean that. I mean that you're gonna do something breathtaking and groundbreaking. You know what I mean? With the Metroid franchise. And so that's where my expectations are right now. No, you know me. I'm always overhyping.
That's the thing. Like, our expectations are extremely high.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like, you could say maybe we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. Like, maybe Metroid Prime 4 is just going to be a really good Nintendo game. And it's kind of crazy to say, like, if Metroid Prime 4 goes down as a really good Nintendo game, that would maybe not meet our expectations. That's kind of how high they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I would argue that Nintendo pretty much kind of said that, we're going to give you a GOAT, because when we go to the restart development like update, right, they said that their goal is to have this game measure up to the original Metroid Prime, which is one of the highest rated games of all time. So, that doesn't mean it's going to sell 50 million copies, but it does mean that they're going to try and make this game extremely good, like a top game of the year kind of candidate kind of game. Like,
I believe it.
I'd be surprised if it's not a nominee. That's kind of my expectation.
I believe it, but you have to look at what Nintendo's been doing as a whole, right? They've been taking every single franchise they have and just kind of upping it just a bit. Look at Kirby. Kirby went from to these, to this Kirby's Forgotten Land, which is like a masterpiece of a game for Kirby. That's another level for Kirby, right?
For sure.
Same thing with Breath of the Wild, from Zelda to Breath of the Wild, from the first Zelda to Breath of the Wild. That's another level for the Zelda franchise. Look at Mario Wonder for 2D side scrolling. They did the same thing. They took it an extra step, another level for the 2D side scrollings. I think that for the next Mario game is going to be even crazier. I think the next Metroid game is going to be even crazier too. I think they're literally upgrading every single franchise they have, and I expect the same for Metroid. It's like, they did it for Zelda, they did it for a cute little Kirby. They're doing it for Mario with the 2D now, and I'm expecting the same thing for 3D Mario. Now they're gonna do it for Metroid and for whatever else they have. I expect Firefox to have a Firefox.
Firefox
is back.
Fire Emblem, Star Fox, Donkey Kong, Kid Icarus, F-Zero, Wave Race. Let's go.
Punch out.
Punch out. Let's go.
I expect Nintendo to take every single franchise they have to another level, in creativity and and openness, just like they've done with all these franchises. Now,
I think so too.
So I only have one E3 experience. I mean, I've watched them all. Not that I've, but I think to me the most captivating one was, of course, when Reggie went on stage. My body is ready and all that stuff.
Classic.
With the Wii U. But with the Wii, it's because like for the longest I've been holding a controller in my hand with the wire attached like that and everything. All of a sudden here comes a Wii and changes the entire thing. What is that? A remote control? Like for my TV, And I'm like, at the beginning, I'm like, okay. And to me, wireless was a big thing back in the day. Wow, a wireless controller. I don't have to plug it in, And so not only that, but he's making you get off your couch. He's making you get off your couch. When they're showing Wii Sports and then the bowling and everything. To me, that was like the biggest jump for me in my experience in gaming, because from I'm no longer sitting on the couch, just kind of like this, but I'm getting on my feet and I'm just kind of making the movements and I'm just playing tennis and all that stuff. And so I saw that as a jump in technology. I'm like, I'm a geek when it comes to sci-fi. I'm like, man, the more futuristic, the more futuristic things look and sound, the better it is. I know people don't like VR. I love it. I'm blind and I'm looking forward to it.
I love VR. It's cool. There's a place for it.
Yeah. So I think that was for me the biggest jump. Every console after that has been an upgrade to that. The Wii U, from Wii U was just everybody knows what happened to it. But then again, came the Switch. And you have the controller here, and it's basically just like the Wii. You have the center and everything. You have the same movement. So they actually built on top of that, just made it a controller this time, a Joy-Con. This is another thing, which I'm sad about this because we never got to use this part a lot in games, right? There's this feature that it recognizes your hands, the camera. Maybe it could have done something with your face,
Yeah.
There was so much that this could have taken us with games that developers didn't take advantage of. But that's one thing that got me from the presentation from the Nintendo Switch. Like, oh, like he's doing what? How? I was like, so, I went all I geeked out with all that stuff technology wise. But
have you played Game Builder Garage?
No, I have not. Does it use the feature?
I don't remember if it uses the IR, to be honest with you. I just remember them doing a lot of unique things and that. I mean, it teaches you how to make video games. I really like it. It's only $20 too. Unless they change
Game
the price.
Builder, Game Builder, I have it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Garage Builder, the Garage
So
Builder.
good. So good.
Oh yeah, I have it.
Love it.
I haven't played it.
Yeah.
Heard good things, obviously.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. But again, in the interest of time, I think we should move on because the show should be over in 6 minutes, but it won't be.
Let me tell you something. Just to motivate people out there, if you guys are thinking about doing something, don't think that if you have any limitations, that could be something that can stop you, because it's not. I'm literally legally blind. I can't see through one eye, and I'm losing my sight to this eye. I'm learning. Right now, I have my Unreal Engine thingy here installed, and I'm actually enrolled in a couple of to learn Unreal Engine and how to make games, because my dream is to make a game, and I'm working on it right now. So
that's awesome.
Don't let them push you back. Nothing is too big. If you got all the tools, go for it.
I will become a Super Saiyan.
Yeah, like that kid on YouTube. Oh man, that'd be cool one day.
Yeah, but I agree. And don't give up on your dreams.
Dude, I have a game. that I wrote that's just amazing.
Yeah,
Copy of Zelda a little bit, but it's still better.
Oh man, have I told you about my concept for a Zelda game? I've talked about it on my live streams a few times.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Man, the thing is, some in the chat already know what I'm gonna bring up, but like I have this concept for a Zelda game where imagine it's the next Zelda game on Switch 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like the prologue, you play as young Link in a town of like it's kind of like a semi-futuristic town, kind of like Xenoblade, right? Like it feels old, but it still has modern technology. And like Link is being raised in a church by an old man who goes by the name of Raru, who may, like he clearly he's taking his time to do churchly things, but he also used to be a knight of Hyrule, and he's kind of training you to be, something like that someday, right? He's kind of like your grandpa. But he's more like adoptive, right? So he's your parental role, right? And so at the beginning of the game is like a prologue, and it kind of is very story centric, but you do get to roam the town and talk to the people and interact with them. And you have like this small little cat-like pet creature, right? It's very like weird and mystical. But eventually the city is attacked and it's destroyed, and the old man sacrifices himself after your little cute pet tried to protect you, got injured, and you're both about to get murdered by some evil fire beast. He jumps in the way, rescues you, and tells you to run straight into the woods, where I'll get into that part, and go straight in this certain direction until you reach the forest spirit so you can rescue the pet, right? It's a special pet, right? The pet tried to sacrifice itself to save you and your little kid, right? And so that's the end of the prologue. You're running into the woods, which no one's allowed to go into, right? Wow. Before the city's attacked, it's almost like an Attack on Titan thing where the city's encased in walls, right? And so the setting of the Zelda game, it's set into the future, I guess, right? I don't know, right? Very far into the future, where you have semi-futuristic cities, but every city is isolated from any other city, and it's kind of like they're like these giant walls. You can't go out into the wild, because in the wild, everything is overgrown nature. Like if you thought Breath of the Wild was wild, no. This world, like all the trees are hundreds of feet high, dozens of feet like wide, like they're giant like redwood tree kind of like things, but it's almost like a giant rainforest, right? And so there'll be like huge, massive Dekubabas and things like that. But it's like a giant, massive, thick rainforest. That's the world of Hyrule outside of these cities. It's a very deadly, giant wilderness. And so the only way for you to survive is to escape the walls, with your dying pet that's been mortally wounded, and run straight, but just relying on the words of your dying kind of like pseudo grandpa to find the forest spirit. You pass out as you see like this in this strange wood, and you see like this big sort of like white furry dragon thing rotate around you, and it fades out. And then 7 years pass, and then you wake up right in the woods, and you're exploring around, and eventually you run into a giant cat beast, flying squirrel dog orange thing. And it's your mount. It's the baby cat that was rescued, right? Wow. It's your mount in this game. It's the version of Epona, but except in this game, you use it to like climb the giant, skyscraper-sized trees and glide from one tree to the next, right? Like that's your mount, right? It's like a pseudo Epona, Lothling kind of thing to explore this giant rainforest thing. And you actually, when you found the forest spirit, you also ran into the Kokiri, right? So in this that's where you lived with the next 7 years, right? You because that's the only civilization you know, but that's kind of like the beginning of the actual game. You're an adult, you have this crazy beast cat that allows you to roam around this giant rainforest world, and you have to go and find these other cities, connect the world, find the dungeon. There is a princess. You will find her and actually travel alongside with her for a little while.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but that's
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it.
It'll be
Put a lot of thought into that. That's cool.
Story for the Zelda game. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's move on to the final topic, because time. So Switch 2 rumor leak update. Question mark. Well, we kind of mentioned some of these already, right? Like, so a lot of them are coming from the Midori code names. We have Spiral, which Midori believes is very likely Splatoon 4. Anna, which claims to be related to Elsa, which many believe is like a follow-up to Switch Sports. And so this kind of gets us thinking, okay, we're going to get a new Switch Sports for the first year of Switch 2. Is Nintendo trying to emulate what they did for 2017? Are they also trying to get Splatoon 4 ready as well? So the quick follow-up, even if it's not 2025, maybe it's still pretty soon, right? And then we consider other things like we got, with 3D Mario is already heavily rumored and will leaked, right? We have many think Mario Kart is going to be on the table as well. We've heard about the visual enhancements of Breath of the Wild. Maybe that extends to other games. There is the Monolith Soft game that's the legacy code name. And if you go by the pattern of Monolith Soft releases, after a break year, this year seems to be the break year, they have another game. So that would be for 2025. And we assume similar to how they did things back in 2017, where they made sure to get a new game out for that first year. They may do the same this time around as well. And maybe that's finally the new IP or whatever Legacy is for. And so that's a lot of big Nintendo games that could be ready. And maybe Metroid Prime 4. Like, there's some debate if that's a holiday game or if it's a next year cross-gen game. But, like, think about that. Like, that's quite a list, right? A Switch Sports Resort, maybe a Splatoon 4, 3D Mario, Mario Kart, the next Monolith Soft game, which could be a huge, vast, open, beautiful game. And some good third parties too, right? Like Monster Hunter Wilds is rumored, and that's just Visions of Mana. Like, I'm sure there's gonna be more.
Right, big meaty games that you need to fill that RPG.
Yeah,
because we don't know if we'll get anything from Monolith. We don't know if we'll get a Xenoblade around launch or not. But I think we can confidently say, right, that we believe we're gonna get a 3D Mario.
Yeah,
I do believe that.
That feels like the safest bet out of all of that, everything mentioned.
For sure. I think a Mario Kart's a good chance. Very much too, because that's an evergreen title, and we've all seen what it's done on Switch. It's bananas.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, I think going with the top sellers of the Nintendo Switch as launch titles moving forward would be a good move, just because of its big large fan base. You can automatically say, you know what, everybody Mario Kart player right now will move forward, get a Switch 2, just to get that fan base moving a lot quicker. Animal Crossing is another one that I think that should be within the first 2 years of the Nintendo Switch, just because it number 2 selling of the number 2 most sold game because of 2020. But then again, it still built that fan base, right? It 2020 kind of imposed that game, but it still built that fan base. That fan base is still alive today, only in the cozy genre now, that cozy kind of thing there. And so I have a controversial thing that I'm going to say.
Oh boy.
I feel that the Switch 2 has the potential and might even beat the Nintendo Switch.
How dare you?
In sales and numbers sold. In numbers sold and in less time.
I mean, I would love that.
And you know why? Let me tell you why. First thing, because of the 141, it's already the biggest right now, of the Switch, right? Of the Nintendo systems, 141 million sold, right? We have a large install base. The transition period is easy because we have Nintendo accounts. Those are gonna stay. So that at least takes care of us, the fans, right? every fan is gonna buy that next Mario game, that next Zelda game, that next Splatoon, that next Animal Crossing, whatever. They're looking for it. It's time, right? But Switch 2 not only is not is that's number one. Number two, form factor. Nintendo has already the form factor is perfected. That the handheld dock thing, right? Nintendo's not gonna move away from that. We already know they refer to it as like the Switch 2 behind the scenes. So it's like, okay, it's just another version of the Switch. More power. They're giving us more power, which opens the door to third party people who want a stronger handheld system where third party people are going to come and say Elden Ring. People who want to play Elden Ring on handheld mode are going to come to Nintendo. They're going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2. A lot of PlayStation fans who are looking for a powerful console with third party support are going to come to the Nintendo Switch 2 just because it has a little bit more power. If we get at least Xbox Series S power, at least, that'll be in a comfortable position for every next gen game to make it on Nintendo Switch. So just add all that fan base. Look at how big PlayStation's fan base is. Let's say they don't have a portable system. They only have the Portal, right? And Nintendo does have a portable system where they can get that same game, take it with them on the road, on the train, to work, whatever.
Cross play is becoming more prevalent now, right? So they can if they have an account on their PS5, be it for maybe Epic or Ubisoft or what have you, they may still be able to play the same account on their Nintendo system.
Exactly. So basically, bring all those fans in. Depending on Nintendo's first and second year, you see not only the current fan base move forward, but a new fan base coming in to Nintendo Switch. So it really does have the potential to really make it there faster. When it comes to a system sold. And the Switch lasted what we're in its 8th year. Let's say 8 years, right before the system. I think this one's gonna be a little longer. Not only that, it's because we have something different in this one. We have AI upscaling, which Nintendo actually sent. Basically, one of the rumors, they sent an update to the developers on their dev kits so that they can use AI upscaling, meaning if you want a game to look better, Nintendo might be issuing updates to the line of that system just to make games look better, run better. Through AI is always advancing, it's always learning. We're gonna have it in the system along with the NVIDIA chip with DLSS, whatever. So all that is software. So if Nintendo can actually improve,
it's a good point
on games becoming better, via software, it's like taking a shortcut. PlayStation, we have this giant beast, or Xbox, we have the fridge, right? Nintendo has a little handheld system and AI. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that it's software based.
Exactly. They're taking a shortcut to get to the same place, but they're being smarter about it. Less power consumption, less heat, and so that itself could allow the system to actually last a lot longer when it comes to the lifespan of it.
It could. You make a lot of good points, like you said about the third parties too. I mean, we all know the third parties are going to be there on day one. And I really believe, like you mentioned, Mario, the Animal Crossings of the world, Mario Kart, those are the drivers. Those games create the install base.
You said Mario Kart.
Yeah, they create the install base, guys. So if they do that, like we already know Square is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
We already know Activision, Blizzard, they're not going to miss the boat this time.
Yeah, for sure.
We know that.
I feel like EA is probably going to get on board.
Yeah, I mean, when I say we, like I work at Nintendo.
You mentioned the Blizzard thing, but Microsoft is,
they're down.
Yeah.
And they're down the street too.
And Microsoft owns like a third of all third-party games. So
Microsoft really respects the hell out of Nintendo. You guys know this.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone really does. Sony does too, but Microsoft really does.
Openly does. They openly do. They openly acknowledge Nintendo in a way that nobody else.
Sony respects Nintendo by trying to kill them.
Yeah.
Which is fair. It's all right. Like you should respect your competitors, your enemies, if you want to call them that. But Nintendo paved the way for everyone for all of this to happen. We all know that. We know the story.
Yeah. But it's because Nintendo and Sony are two Japanese companies, and Sony has a bigger fridges, TVs, and all that stuff, and still Nintendo in Japan is richer than Sony. So there's like a grudge, underdog kind of thing over there going on.
Yeah. I think you bring up an interesting point, Mike. I agree that the jury's still out, right? The system hasn't even been shown off yet. Like I think that there is the chance that it can become more successful than the Switch, but I also think that there is a very good chance that it will not, right? There are things that go against it too, like the fact that the Switch was a very special thing, and there may be a lot of people that kind of feel like I already got my fix, I don't need a Switch 2, the sequelitis thing, there's a little bit of that. But on the flip side, right, you look at Sony and the way they've sort of presented themselves. All right, it's time to get the next PlayStation, right? It's not like, like it's the next PlayStation. And so I feel like Nintendo should adopt that strategy. And like you look at PS1 was an incredible success, and they did better with PS2. That was wild. Now, of course, they had the whole DVD thing, and so we don't know what Nintendo will do here. But to your point, right? Nintendo has this interesting opportunity where the third-party support levels could be vastly better, and because of DLSS and just overall improvements with mobile tech, they may be getting to that point where the games will basically look the same to the masses or good enough. Like they don't feel like they're having getting a hampered experience, but then it's also portable. And so the value proposition may all of a sudden seem that much greater to a larger audience. So I think that's a great point. And something else I'll just throw out there, Nintendo does have this. I like to literally on my computer it's saved as a Nintendo master plan where they show like that Venn diagram where they're doing the different things, which includes the Universal parks and the movies, right? And then just like those projects are expanding their potential. They're reaching an even larger audience. They're making Nintendo more of a house name. And we consider some of the IP that have reached record highs. A lot of people like to look at that as peaks, but what if it actually creates a new norm, a new standard, and so they can then reach even greater heights, right? So like maybe the next Zelda game eclipses the 35 million in Breath of the Wild, right? Like what if the next Zelda game is a 40 to 50 million seller?
Really could. We don't know what this movie's gonna do.
So
we don't.
Well, first, there's a patent and a patent that talks about video streaming for Nintendo, video streaming, right? And so I think they're gonna have a video streaming service on Nintendo Switch Online, like, but you can play the old Super Mario episodes from the old Zelda.
With Captain Lou Albano.
Yeah, you and plus the movies as well. But one thing that I heard, I'm not gonna get this person in trouble. They're my friend. They work at Universal and they're working in the construction. Is they have a lot of information and I talked to them. That's why I'm going over there to get some footage. They're gonna let me in, and so there's gonna be a big connection with Amiibo between the parks and the video games.
Smart.
And there already is with the watch bands, but not in the way that they're going to connect. The watch bands right now, if you didn't know, they are also amiibos of that character. And so same things that happen when they finish the Zelda park, the Pokemon ride over at Universal, the room at Luigi's Mansion at Epic Universe, and something else I forgot. But
DK.
The amiibo for that one's already done. It's the band watch as well. But there's gonna be a bigger connection between the theme parks and video games and certain things you can items you can get via the amiibo only if you visit that the park and get it there. And so Nintendo is really setting themselves up to live forever.
They really are.
To live forever.
Sustainable long-term success.
Exactly.
And someone mentioned in the chat that it's like they're like the Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of parallels.
Yeah.
And there can be Disney, Marvel, you name it. Nintendo has the IP. That's the thing. They have the IP. They always have. And we see it in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
But if you were to, and I think we've touched on this a tad, but if you were to adapt that to movies, which we got Mario.
It's gonna happen.
We know Zelda's coming. We know DK's probably coming.
Metroid.
If they were to expand it with movies, imagine what else. Imagine the sales Nintendo games could have and their console. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and
Just beginning.
like last podcast we were talking with Andre about how a Metroid theme park ride would be, right? With where you get in in one of the ships. Yeah, and then you land on certain island or a planet island. The planet you get off that on that planet, Samus is leading you. You're not shooting, and it's back and while you get on another one. I mean, they do that kind of with Star Wars and Disney. Like you actually land and you get off, and you have to get on another one, and there's this interaction and everything. But what I'm saying is that Nintendo is setting themselves up for success, and Universal hit gold with Nintendo. They hit gold with Nintendo because Universal with Nintendo's IP behind them in their theme parks. I live in Orlando now for since 1997. Okay, so I lived in Nintendo in Orlando here. I can tell you, Disney's always been the main thing here. Disney's always been like the baby of Orlando, right?
Yeah,
that's already ending. Universal's taking over now, and Universal's going to be like the main thing.
We were just talking about going there. Me going there next year for my 40th. It's my 40th. It'll be Nintendo's 40th.
Perfect, because the next year is when Nintendo opens Super Nintendo World and Donkey Kong Country.
That's why I would want to go there. She's like, you want to go? My girl was like, you want to go to Hollywood? And I was like, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to Cali. Much rather go to Florida.
Yeah,
and go there because DK is going to be there.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people are not like. You ask people here, you rather go to Disney or you want to go to Super Nintendo World? I want to go to Super Nintendo World.
It's cool. You got Harry Potter there too. So if you enjoy Harry Potter, you go have a beer, whatever they call it in the movie. I forget.
Yeah, butterbeer. They're making that place bigger. They're making that even bigger, like huge at Epic Universe.
A lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, man.
I got one thing I got to mention is the idea of this. Let me know what you guys think. Could Nintendo apply DLSS to NSO games? Because, for instance, I've played the Ship of Harkana, which is the Ocarina of Time PC port that runs it. I can run it at 120 frames. I'm on a RTX 3080 Ti.
Yeah.
I can run at 120 frames. It looks beautiful. I don't need to. I played at 60, but I've tested it out, right?
Yeah.
I've played Majora's Mask, the PC port that came out with some of the DLSS.
Uh-huh.
I downloaded like 2 weeks ago. It's insane, dude. It's insane. I'm just wondering, like, is there an opportunity for that? I would love to play Wave Race with DLSS.
I mean, technically, the AI upscaling works with whatever software you're playing on the Nintendo Switch. I haven't played it. I'm assuming, but it should be working on any software you play. It'll automatically
That's not how I understand it.
Make it look better,
So it would have to be. They would have to develop that. Right, every game, each independent game would have to be updated to take advantage of the DLSS features. Now they could do that, right? Like, I mean,
you're talking about the NVIDIA chip. I'm talking about the Nintendo's AI upscaling, because Nintendo also is working on their own version of AI upscaling.
Yeah, it sounded like you were talking about two separate things earlier, Mike.
I'm not talking about the NVIDIA chip. That NVIDIA chip is the DLSS. I'm talking about the AI upscaling from Nintendo, which they also have a patent on, which actually mentions their own version of upscaling the footage, adding more pixels by AI. So it's like two different things.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to use something like FSR, but the basic FSR doesn't really do that much, just for the record. But like, if we're talking about specifically DLSS, and we don't know what Nintendo's AI that was a patent. Like, we don't know exactly what they're gonna do. Like, it may just be DLSS, it may be something else that they have. So we'll see, right? But assuming it's DLSS, like the rumors suggest, right, then they would have to kind of patch that in. But, I mean, like the cool thing to me about that, because listen, these are small old games, right? Like, it's not going to be hard to get these games running at 60 FPS, or it's not going to be hard to get them, at a higher resolution like 4K, right? Mm-hmm. The cool thing would be to do that, to get these games had to have ray tracing.
Yeah.
Because DLSS 3.5 offers ray reconstruction. Yeah. And so that would be the real cool thing with this. And so if they did that, That'd be neat. But again, they would have to develop each game with that in mind. They would have to go back and work on that.
Like Mario, Paper Mario already has it in its code that it could be actually played in 4K resolution. So when it went to, so I'm guessing that every game Nintendo releases from now on, they're going to make sure that that game is ready for Switch 2.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a smart move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are we ready to read out super chats and close things out here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, I noticed a couple ads here. These aren't super chats, but like Venetus is asking me, would that have to be done to each individual game or just once per emulator? I'm not going to pretend like I understand this fully, right? My understanding is you would have to do it for each individual game. But I don't know that for a fact. So,
Yeah, that's my understanding, but I don't know how hard it is. I don't know anything. Hopefully not that hard. That'd be cool.
But also, I mean, that doesn't mean you have to develop a whole game, right? It's not like developing a whole game either, So how much work is it? Like, I
feel like it would give people a reason to upgrade to Switch 2. That would be another reason, especially if they made it only on Switch 2.
It'd be cool for sure. But so super chats. There's this one from earlier that I don't think I can actually share because it wasn't, Nate's gone, right? I'm doing what I can, right? But apparently, Varum Verbi with a super chat at 9:30 earlier, right? Said this: rumor videos are half the fun. Ignore the haters. Third Oracle game makes sense if it sells well. Nintendo will remake the first two. That would be epic.
Yeah.
So I would love to see, a third Oracle game as a new 2D Zelda, which would be kind of like the best of both worlds, right? It's giving us more Oracle of Ages love, or Ages and Seasons, but it's actually new at the same time. So that would be really cool.
It would be amazing. Like epic. I bought Oracle of Ages and Seasons the day they came out. I still have them. And I remember reading leading up to the events that we all knew we were getting 3 from Capcom. And when we didn't, part of me always wondered if we were ever going to see that. If we saw it 20 plus years later, that would be insane.
Dude, there have been things like that, right? We got Mario RPG remade, Metroid Dread, exactly. So the stuff of dreams do happen. Banjos and Smash, right? Like
exactly.
We've been waiting for that for years.
It's possible.
So it's possible. So we had this super chat earlier from Vito Libido. Can Nintendo announce a Sega Game Gear NSO? We already got Sega NSO. Like, why not add other Sega platforms? I don't see why not.
We had Game Gear on 3DS, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
We did. I downloaded some games on there. I got like some Sonic games from Game Gear. So
yeah, I mean, if there's already Game Boy Color and stuff like that seems like something that could happen. It could even happen on Switch 1, possibly, right? That's not necessarily a Switch 2 thing. So for sure. I've actually campaigned for Dreamcast coming to NSO. I think Dreamcast could come to NSO before GameCube. Please. Now, again, I'm not arguing Dreamcast comes to Switch NSO. It could. Like, there isn't any real limitation there, right? But I'm just arguing that eventually for NSO, right? I bet that we get Sega Dreamcast NSO before GameCube NSO, which will piss people off, but also be really hyped.
I'd lose it if we got Dreamcast. I really hope we do.
That would be so cool, right?
Is that the one with the taxi cab game?
Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi, Monkey Ball, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur. Yeah.
They had the best release date ever for Dreamcast. 9/9/99.
Let's go.
I remember getting it the day it came out. I was sick from school that day.
Man.
Anyway, music is royalty free, by the way.
Oh, how lovely. Moving on to the next super chat. George FT. If there is a sequel to Kid Icarus Uprising, you think Sakurai would be keen on being involved after expressing a rough experience with Uprising's development, or do you want another team for the sequel? Listen. I can't say with certainty what's going to happen regarding the future of Kid Icarus because it's been pretty dormant. I do think the road to another Kid Icarus happens after we get a remaster of Uprising, right? Or a remake or whatever they decide doing with that. But once that comes, I think that does open the door if it does relatively well. I would say, just considering the track history of Sakurai, lamenting on the struggles and challenges of development, and still doing it, right? Questioning if this is the end, and then still doing it whenever it comes to Smash. I would say that he'll eventually give Kid Icarus a try again, after a remaster. And I'm sure he'll also have something to say about the remaster, right? So, yeah, I think Sakurai would be responsible for it. But I also think that making Kid Icarus Uprising for the 3DS was a challenge. Making a new Kid Icarus game for Switch 2, that wouldn't be a challenge. I mean, it'd be a challenge, sure, but like any other game, right? 3DS had some huge challenges from an interface perspective to achieve the vision he had. 3DS was just not. 3DS is cool, but Kid Icarus is very ambitious for the system. I don't think Sakurai Switch 2, like, it's going to be a dream for Sakurai to develop for.
Plus, you have controls that you're building from the ground up for the Switch, right? It's not 3DS. You guys remember Kid Icarus came out, you had the stand that it came within the box.
That's
so
how
you
bad
could
it was.
use the controls. Like, we don't have that hurdle anymore.
Yeah. So what's funny is that, like, I actually didn't have as much problems with the controls as a lot of other people, and it doesn't just extend to Kid Icarus Uprising, but even going back to like Mario 64 DS, because I was someone that took advantage of that little thumb strap they gave us.
Yeah,
there's a thumb strap, right? So it's like a little thing, right? It's like almost like a lanyard, but it wraps into your controller. Like I think even the 3DS still had the divot as well, so you could do it. You tie it in, and it's just a little piece of rope, and it has a little piece of plastic. You kind of close it on your finger, and the plastic functions as a right stick on the touchscreen.
It worked good. It worked good.
It did. Now it wouldn't be as good as a second slider, right? Because you have to kind of reach over to the touchscreen. So if your hands are kind of small, I recognize, so that'd be challenging. But it was definitely way better than holding a stylus with the right hand and holding the entire system with just your left hand. So
yes,
yeah.
I've never played a Kid Icarus game, so if they do, I would say I'm with Andres. I don't think a sequel will come first. I think if the port will make it first, and then depending on that, how that game sells well, then that will actually influence another game. But I would love to see it ported to Nintendo Switch. Maybe who knows? We might see it this time around.
we might see it at Direct. We might, but I'd love to see Kid Icarus. I'm actually a very big Kid Icarus fan. I love Kid Icarus on Nintendo. Game. I love it on NES. I love the soundtrack. And then I have Kid Icarus on Game Boy. Kid Icarus Myth and Monsters. Great game.
Kid Icarus is actually my most played virtual console game on Wii.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wait, sucks, man. Too late, man. The Wii shop closed down.
You should be able to play Kid Icarus on a NSO.
Really?
It's on NSO.
Yeah, it's an NES game.
NES.
Oh yeah, not that one. I want the older versions, the newer versions.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't. No, you can't play. Yeah,
the NES version, I did after I saw it in the Mario movie. I went there.
Oh, well, there you go. It's doing its job.
Yeah. So, I've seen the trailers for the Kid Icarus Uprising, and it looks phenomenal. I like the action of it. So
it's a really good game.
Yeah.
Next super chat here. Summer V Step. I played Zelda in the early 90s. Then in 2018, bought my child a Switch and played Zelda again, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And I love hearing the review of the Zelda games missed. Yeah, there have been a lot of good Zelda games. So, hopefully you get a chance. I mean, if you can play Ocarina, Majora's Mask, of course, like you may have played those, but you can go back to those on NSO. And hopefully Wind Waker and Twilight Princess happen at some point. But there's also Skyward Sword HD. So if you missed that one, you can go back to that. That would be pretty cool.
I gotta say, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm on a mission directed by Joycey J, Zelda's mama, on the channel. I'm gonna play every single game, every Zelda game from the very beginning to well, I'm not gonna play Tears of the Kingdom. I just played that one. But every Zelda game from the beginning to at least before Switch. Right, so I can get updated with every game. I'm excited to playing the mobile games on a bigger screen because like I said, I never played any other mobile games, And so that's what I'm most excited about, because I, as a Nintendo fan with a Nintendo channel, I feel like I missed out on a lot when I see people talking about the 3DS and the 2DS and the this and that. I had a Game Boy when it came out. My eyes were not that bad back then. But then later on, I could not play any more handheld games. But man, I feel like I missed out when it comes to on the handheld. So to me, the more they port on the Switch or put on NSO, the better. You know, I'm looking forward to the DS, because I know there's some Zelda games that are good there as well, right?
Yeah. Link Between Worlds, especially.
Yeah.
Love that one. Love that one.
Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, Triforce Heroes, and A Link Between Worlds.
On the DS? On the DS? Or 3DS?
Oh, I thought you said 3DS. DS, you have Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then also you can still plug in the Game Boy Advance games and the Game Boy Color. I think. Well, no, not Game Boy Color. Only Game Boy Advance on DS. They only go one generation back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plug and
So
play.
we got another super chat from Summer V Step here. Final super chat of the night, it appears. I subscribe to you all, and if you haven't done a review of all those other games yet, you definitely should.
That's true. You're right. You're right. We talk about how great they are, but no.
I've thought about reviewing them all on my channel because I love them. I've played them all. I just need to revisit, right?
All right. So I'm going to work on a 2-minute review.
I'm going to work on a 6-hour long review.
A 2-minute review of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes. That's all it takes to describe the game. Is it good? Yeah. Is it open? Yeah. Does it have sky? Yeah. Is it hard? Yeah. Yeah.
Now imagine talking about one game for 6 hours. I'm not gonna actually do that.
If there's any game,
it'd be cool.
It would be Zelda. If there's any game I could talk about that long.
You talk about each independent game for an hour.
Yeah.
I remember I said, you know what? I could care less if they found the mole in Link's left foot. I'm like looking at little details, like, oh my god, there's a mole there. Care about that? Just want to play the game. Is it fun? It is. You know.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Always. Is the game fun? Are you having a good time? Did you walk away happy?
Exactly.
It's all about the gameplay.
I think that's what my channel is all about. To be honest, it's all about how much fun you have with games, whether you have fun or you don't. Right.
What life's about, man.
Yeah. So
we're all here. We're not here forever. Have as much fun,
right?
While you're here.
Guaranteed to us.
Or while your power is still on.
Right,
Nate?
Exactly.
Nate is still listening.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
I don't know about that.
He's about just completely trust 3 crazy guys at this podcast.
Like, I don't know. He might not have. I think his laptop was about to die, and then he might have to conserve phone battery. So this might be a survival of the fittest kind of thing. And
he's got his cruise coming up soon, so he's gonna have to entrust us anyways.
He is listening. Nate, you know you're listening, right, Nate? You know, I know he's listening.
Yeah, I don't know.
Shout out to Nate.
I don't know. he might check afterwards. But anyways, Mike, where can they find you? I guess is how Nate would say.
It's time for dance party, man.
At the club, apparently.
This one. Ready? Yep. Come on. I have a mug. Never give up. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, hip hop. All right, you can find me at the Mike Odyssey Show, Mike Odyssey channel. I used to be Monday through Friday, but I'm in the transition mode right now because I'm starting a new show called the Mike Odyssey Show, which will be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Although I will do breaking news here and there. Every Friday at the Nintenbyte Podcast, 8:30 p.m. I'm there with the crew, just having fun. I'm running a little show called Indie Mania that takes place in September 12, 13, and 14. We have around 70 developers with over 100 games. I'm pretty sure it's like close to 120 right now, which is going to be awesome as well. So if you could do me a favor, other than subscribing to the Mike Odyssey channel, look up Indie Mania. We're not going to use that channel yet, but we're growing it for that. So that next year, once that channel is a lot bigger, we can start. We move everything Indie Mania to that channel, and getting ready for something called the Indie Mania Awards. Where all of the contestants in all the games that are entering now, next year they automatically enter into the Indie Mania Awards. It'll be really cool. So yeah,
Awesome.
thank you, Nate. I know you're watching. Thank you for the invite. Thank you, Andre, for the hosting after, and Thunder Steve. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good. Always good talking to you. And Steve, what do you got going on?
Well, you guys can find me at Thunder Steve 85 Gaming. I just launched, I guess you could say, a new retro game series. It's called The Test of Time. So basically, I am playing games that are old, some that I haven't played in a long time. And it's very simple. We're trying to determine if they stand the test of time. Are they worth playing today? You know, with today's, obviously, all the enhancements with modern day consoles, with PS5 and whatnot. Can you go back to these games that are on NES, SNES, N64? Do they hold up today? So that's really fun because I get to journey backwards as well and play some games I haven't played in a long time. Outside of that, I got a Paper Mario review. Hoping to have it up Friday. It's probably going to be Friday or Saturday.
Your door?
1,000 Year Door.
Okay, it could be an old Paper Mario.
Yeah, no, thank you. 1,000 Year Door on Switch. And honestly, when we end this podcast, I am opening. Actually, I'm already in the 1,000 Year Door. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I probably got about 30 minutes left.
Okay, very good. And I guess I'll just say what I got going on. As soon as the show is over in the next 49 seconds, I am going to get some snacks, watch Stranger Things, and then go to bed.
Wait. You mean like catch up?
Yeah.
It's not out yet, right? The new season?
Then apparently it's not coming out till next year, the last season.
Oh, that sucks.
But Cobra Kai's coming out this summer.
Yeah, I'm just catching up.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
But none of that info is relevant to anyone listening. I did put out a Metroid video today. I'm apparently convinced that Metroid Prime 4 is a cross-gen title. Am I wrong? I'm not sure. But hear me out. Videos there, and they'll probably be something tomorrow too. I'm still sorting that out. I got a few things I've been wanting to talk about. It's kind of a question of do I have the time to say what I want to say appropriately. But
you got it.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, Nate, being the owner of this channel and is not here because he rudely let the entire power of his entire community block go out. Make sure to check him out. I'm sure he's got something going on, and if not, I don't know, watch his old stuff because if he has no power, I don't know how he's gonna make a video.
Yeah.
So help the man, support the man. He's awesome. But yeah, there's only a certain group of people that are more awesome than him, and that's everyone watching. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.
I thought you were gonna say Mike Odyssey. I was like,
Mike Odyssey is the number one. Well, are you watching the podcast?
I'm watching you right now. I'm in the podcast.
Well, there we go. And then we are all inherently more awesome because we are a part of the group.
Yeah.
So there we go.
That's nice. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.